All right. It is pushing live now.
We are on Facebook.
Yeah, and for some reason it is not showing what it's supposed to.
There we go.
Hold on. Let me try this again.
Purple?
All right.
You know the rule. 50 laps.
If you wear purple?
Yeah, no, if you match me.
Oh.
There we go. All right, we should be all set.
All set?
Yep.
All right. All right, let's get those stretches. Make sure we're getting those toe stretches, folks. Keep that back nice and straight, like normal. Right? Keep those eyes up. Stretch it up at the end. If you can raise your hands, great. If you're like me, I understand. I tell you what, I get a lot of cracking in my feet.
Magrat's got her helmet on.
All
like
right.
Champ.
Nothing wrong. Get that strong neck back. That helps stop concussions. I'm having a rough time in these today. Losing my balance. So remember that this exercise that I'm doing right now with the in stance, forward and back, on the toes, reaching out, the key on this one is it's not just a warm-up. This transfer of weight in here is the transfer of weight that occurs when you're throwing a blow. So this is why we're really pushing into it. The longer you can hold a good center here before falling forward or doing a passing step, the more likely your opponent doesn't see it. As soon as your foot leaves the ground and starts moving forward, your opponent can pick up, in his peripheral vision, you can pick up that foot moving. So we want to hold that as long as possible. And bang, that should all be one. We should probably make sure you're doing on these on both, switch your stance and make sure you're doing both ways. Just having a discussion this morning about being very comfortable in your good stance. In other words, and you should. You know, I'm not going to throw away hundreds of years of learning to get in a good stance and try to get back to that stance. But with flow of motion and flow of feet comes different execution. You always want to go back to a place that you know is near perfect defensively, but you don't want to be trapped in that position either. So I'm going to call out Bess. Bess asked me and Ron Golder. Hopefully Ron Golder is going to show up a little bit later today. Talk a little bit about psychology of a fight. And her timing was very good because, well, I think some of it came right out of Coach's Corner.
Right.
Because we had a pretty passionate discussion in our Coach's Corner meetings that we do once a month about the difference between thinking through a fight and reacting through a fight. And it's a relatively, at any given place, you're actually in the middle of the two. But it just depends on how far down the line you are. But we're going to talk about that a little bit. I want to get Ron Golder's opinion, and then we'll work through that. Most instinctual people will just be able to evaluate very fast and change very quickly and hold information of how stuff worked or what they saw. A lot of times that's all instinct, and then their reaction in the throwing of a blow or a technique, including technique is feet, sword, and shield block are all technique. The key on technique is these are things you shouldn't have to think about all the time. Doesn't mean you don't at the beginning until you're very good at them. And it also doesn't mean you don't think about it during the fight. You might be thinking, I'm going to give him a jab foot and then I'm going to give him a long jab throw and then roll onto his sword side or roll kick back off to his shield side. Doesn't mean I'm not thinking that's what I'm going to execute. But when you execute, that's where you have to trust that you've worked it so hard that technique is instinctual on execution. All right, work those ankles out, and then we'll get ready for some drills here. We'll burn through these drills. Sides being a huge techie person today. Huge thanks to her taking her time out.
Our speaker is having issues, so I'm going to try and fix that. So it's you get all Brunnis for now.
So she's gonna have to open her book, so I know I don't miss any. If you can tell me, actually, I'll start burning through them.
2 foot run.
2 foot run. Everybody,
you know this one, I swear.
Everybody look like they're about ready.
I think so.
Okay, let's do it again. Keep your head up. Yeah, let's do it backwards. Don't worry about the unless you trip on them, don't worry about your rungs. Just try to get a good running backwards. Keep your body straight. All right, what's the next one?
Hopscotch.
All right, our favorite. Everybody loves the game of hopscotch. I want you to sit in this, okay? And when we sit, our back is straight. We sit, and we try to keep our head level. So let's go. All right, got to do it backward. Sit in your butt.
You don't have to do it by yourself. You can come join our Zoom.
You want to do them? Oh, you still got shoes to get.
Sorry,
No problem. All right. What's next?
Skiers. Oops, I gotta go mute.
Skiers. The basic drop step version.
All right.
So the open
Again,
and then close.
let's make sure. Hip first. This is not a reach. Hip, slide into it. Hip.
Somebody do me a favor and say something so I can tell if I got the speaker fixed.
We can hear you just fine.
Yes, but
It
we can
sounds like
hear
you got it
you
fixed.
now.
Backwards.
Our speaker wasn't working. So it's coming
Oh,
up-
okay. Well, it's a lovely day here in Guelph.
Yup. Now I've got it coming out the Bluetooth speaker, so we are all set.
You're doing well? Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So let's remember that skier it's something we use. I'm going to use side for a second. So as she's preparing to throw, I'm like, just in, and as she turns, I drop back. Right? That makes it comfortable because now she has to turn and set up, and it makes it harder for your opponent. No problem. This is one of those times when you can go into a fight, especially with somebody you know that's at a different level, and say, I'm going to stay in good defense, but as soon as they line up, I'm going to do this skiing motion on them and see what they do. The other piece about skier, and only everything that's running side to side, is like we talked about last week. If I'm trying to go around a person, if I'm in front of a person and I do it straight to the side, now I'm too far away from her. So even on a skier, you want to almost do it into a 45. Now I'm the same length. So just be careful. Unless you want to get more length, then go side to side. But remember your hips will come off a little bit and everything else. So if you're going to do that, here and then turn a little. Creates that length, you know, and that's perfectly fine. But you have to think how these movements affect distance and affect your opponent. You know, and then after you do it, you have to make an evaluation. What did that do? And that's the important part of this. What did my execution of technique do on the other person? We're going to have a lot more talk about that later. What's next?
The skiers with the shuffle version.
All right. Now we got the real trainer here.
Yeah, so this is the one where we're bringing our feet in line with each other. Our legs are coming closer together, then opening. Otherwise, it's still a drop step. I'm still shifting my weight and just catching myself with my feet.
Yeah, remember, shift that weight. Shift the hip. And as you're falling, those feet move. And then backwards. But
Oh, I was just going to go until we ran into each other. It'd be fun.
this is better that she goes first. That way she doesn't make me look bad when she goes second. So this one's a little more difficult because you actually have to sit almost like you're falling into a chair. It's like I'm sitting in this chair. All right, everybody's looking good. You know what? Magrat, you're doing beautiful. The hip is going first. And you know, Margarita, you're doing much better now too. I remember when you used to push out with that leg.
Yeah, what I like with Magrat is the perfect camera angle to literally see the whole body just like side to side in one big straight line.
Yeah, awesome. Very nice, Haroon. You're making those look really smooth. That's the way, Bess. Good, Paul. Remember, keep that back nice and straight. And then go ahead and add a little bit of bend in that so you got some shocks in those legs, right? Good. That'll tie you to the ground much better. Elfwin, you're looking great there. All right, let's go. Oop. He's just grabbing a cooler. All right, what's next, Bess? Oh, is that that's like the long skier or the long gather step? You can tell me if this is right or wrong. So here we are. Is it just a long gather step?
No, next is the TikTok. So at the angle.
Oh, sorry. Next one's a TikTok. Per the boss. So remember, we're gonna do that same step, that same shuffle step, but we're gonna do it turn to a 45. So here I am. That foot comes and points down the ladder, and then I'm here. The key on this is you can almost do them at the same time. See how my feet almost move at the same time. So earlier when I talked about manipulating around an opponent, this is exactly that scenario. We're falling into those 45s, keeping the same distance, but always keeping our hips on and hopefully keeping their hips behind us. When you're done with those, because Rongvalder loves everything backwards, we have to do the same thing backwards.
You should read the question from Abelard while I do.
All right, I'm going to read a question while Side does hers.
It'd be easier for you to read it than me to recreate it.
All right, so he talks about leading with a hip tends to dip his shoulders a little bit. So that's one of those scenarios where we definitely do not want the shoulders to dip because it does become a tell. So let's see what we see here, and then Abelard, I may have to specifically go with you, but
We could, if he's cool with showing it, you could just
let's just go ahead. Abelard, you're going to show us, and then we'll see what's going on there.
I'm going to find your video and switch over.
And remember, if you feel like you're having troubles like this is the time to fix these things. So everyone, make sure we'll take the time out to do this.
We've got the time.
And this is good execution. Yeah, so you're dipping, actually, you don't dip into, so on the video, it looks like your left side is where you're dipping, right? Towards the bench there. Your right actually doesn't dip. So what I see,
Hold on, let me switch back to you.
okay, is
Demo.
this. Hold on, right here. I see you kind of, you're falling here, and then here you kind of keep that balance, and you're almost still leaning over this hip. So do it super slow, and see if you can steady out those shoulders and get a little lower, and then add some hip to it. Add some hip to it.
As per always, the answer is more squats.
Okay. There we go.
Getting lower gives you more ability to move sideways without having to tip or tilt anything.
Right. And this is actually, the tilt is a very concerning part that you have to watch. If you're in control of that tilt, that's perfectly fine. When I fight wrong vaulter, you'll see me tilt to this side a little bit. Because I want my hand, here's my throwing hand, here's my throwing hand, and that's an easier block, right? But it's not a ton.
What you're not doing is this.
I am not doing this. Because then I can't throw this offside.
With your legs
sitting.
bent, your center is still
Right,
center.
my center is still here.
Your weight is still over your center.
Exactly. So I can still pop and throw, right? So as long as you totally know to control, you're fine. Wrong vaulter actually doesn't lean at all, which is probably a better form. I just know after fighting so many years with wrong vaulter, I can't keep up with his sword leg shot that way. So I have to drop into that form.
Yeah. And shameless plug from Bess for the Coach's Corner. Keep an eye out, as in a couple of weeks, tells knowing them how to use them and what to do about them is going to be an episode.
Exactly. So again, Abelard, my suggestion is, as you go through these, be actively aware of your balance and where it is in your hips.
Practice in a mirror if you've got one, because then it's really easy to see.
And this is it. You notice, just because if I shift the body, it's kind of an old habit. If I want to go that way, I lean my body this way. But what we're doing is we're leading our hips into this way.
Instead of leaning the body, you're just translating the entire body sideways in space.
Right, the legs.
By the magic of legs.
Ends up leaning and catching up.
Right, and that's it. I'm leaning my body instead of leaning my legs. So, okay, thank you.
Okay, no problem. We're gonna keep an eye on you on this. So.
Well, that's where mirror practice, if you've got one of the correct shape and location to do that, you can literally draw a line like where your shoulders are supposed to be and practice just sliding side to side, keeping your shoulders on that line, kind of a thing. All right, up next, we're gonna move into our 3-step. So I'm going to take a step forward first and then do that same shuffle across. Take a step forward, shuffle across.
So now I want you guys, you all know this exercise. I want you to start visualizing a little more, because visualization in this game is the way we learn to do stuff. So think of yourself in front of your opponent and you want to shift around them. Right? And I did an extra step. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, you're basically doing the 4-step now.
Exactly. So in this, we're going to think about, like, my opponent's a little farther back. I need to essentially take a step forward and over. And then I'm going to take a step forward and over. And then I'm going to take a step forward and over. So now, this is a lot like our skiers a little bit, but we're getting more distance forward.
More side to side.
And more side to side. So let's go ahead and do this backwards. So again, imagine yourself going around an opponent. You notice I turn a little bit at the end. You could add that.
Adding the turn is hard.
Yeah, isn't it? All right, I'm going to give a view there. Nice. Yeah, adding that little turn helps a little bit with making sure your hips are still on your opponent. Abelard, we're going to look at you in a second, because I'm going to make sure your shoulders are. You're dipping still on that one. So Abelard, I think you're dipping because you're leaning your shoulders forward. I want you to be strong and pull those shoulder blades together. Yes. Okay, keep that upper body posture. Ah, good reminder. Good upper body posture. There we go. Oh, look at that. Not nearly quite as bad. That's better. Yes. You see how you're more upright now? It's almost like those hips slipped underneath you where they're supposed to be a little more. Right. Good. Nice, Haroon. Very nice. Now visualize that you're fighting somebody. Even if you want to throw a little bit of, yes, even if you want to throw a little bit of hand at the end, like you're fighting somebody to help you visualize, do that. Okay. Next one. Nice.
Elfwin with our awesome outdoor space.
Exactly. That looks good. Let's do them forward. There we go. And I see you're adding a little bit of turn there, which is great.
I don't know if this will be with anybody else, but I find putting the hand in there, thinking about that is helpful to me because I discovered while I'm at the Pell, like those little incidental shots, like after real shot happens, those incidental shots of moving in and moving out, my hips are backwards. I'm throwing them kind of, I don't know, whenever I want, but I'm so out of sync that they are not correct. And so it helps me to put some muscle memory into throwing some incidental shots or moving when I'm actually throwing, which is something I need to correct. So the hand is helpful for me.
No, that's a great example of things that we have to do. Hey, it's nice to have you back, Dramaticus. You're looking good still. Okay? The feet still look great, even if it's not with us for the last couple weeks. Those are really good.
Well, yeah, and you're doing a lot of the changing direction and back and forth because that small space, but that's awesome. That's hard. It's harder than just doing it normal.
Actually came in handy trying to run down a few turkeys yesterday.
Awesome. All right. So let's do that next one. Remember, you don't have to have something in your hand to make it look. Also, by throwing that hand high will keep those hips. So if I'm executing something, here I am, and I throw that hand high, my hips, it almost pulls my hips forward. This is the bad habit, is what I see is people move, and then they lean over to throw the hand low. That is not, whenever you're throwing a leg, there is no lean forward. It's drop. This is why we do squats, guys, everyone. This is what these squats are for.
When in doubt, more squats.
Yep. All right.
Okie dokie. Up next, we're going to do the cross behind. So it is very similar, but now we're going to go ahead. We're going to take that step forward and let our legs cross. So we get even more side-to-side motion, or you can curve it if you want to practice that part. Kind of turn in a little bit. I pressed the wrong foot. Kind of turn it towards the imaginary opponent here.
Yeah, you're like, yeah, exactly.
As you get good at this, you can literally skip the ladder entirely and just go completely side to side over it. As with everything.
We're doing a gather step here.
No,
Crossing
cross
step.
behind.
Okay, good.
As you squat more, you'll be able to get more of that leg cross and more side to side without letting your hips flip sideways like we don't want.
Right, this is the floor is lava or ladder's lava, right? Yeah.
Yes, ladder's lava.
I'm not sure which one you labeled that, but yes, it works that way. And
then
of course,
backwards.
we can do it backwards where we step back and we let our leg cross in front instead.
So the big key here is what this is teaching us is on those sweeping steps, right? So the idea is on these sweeping steps, it's not turn, it's heel first. And way over. Clear, way over. Clear, way over. Clear, way over. Abelard, this is going to be a little tougher with that drop shoulder. I want you to keep an eye on it.
And the big one here with the cross step is don't let your hips do this as you're turning.
Right. You see how her toe is forward? That's why your hips will turn.
Your hips are all sideways. You want to get down enough that you're just literally keeping your legs straight forward and crossing them, not turning sideways.
Exactly.
And that's, again, where the lower I get, the more of that I can do before the hip twist comes in.
All right, Abelard, I want to see him. There we go. I got good feet. We're going to have to, I want you to move your camera up a little bit. I want to watch shoulders a little more. Thank you. Get those hips under you, hands up. There you are. Good. Yes, that's better. See how that when your back comes up and you're getting better form, you don't tend to drop that shoulder as much. Okay, so just watch that back.
Next one is 4-step. I'll be right back.
Okay, Haroon, I want you to make sure you're jumping on those. You're getting a little height on your head. I want them smooth. All right. Not bad, Margaret. Now watch those hips, the things we just talked about. Try to keep those toes forward. I'm going to flick back to us here. Okay, I'm watching you, Margarita. There, yeah, keep those. See how you're turning those hips? So when you clear, make sure you're kind of turning your, and I'll show you here in a sec. Let me replace the spotlight. So what I see a little bit is here I am. So even if I clear going backwards and I point my toe, you see how my hip turns with that toe. If I turn my heel in, see how my hips kind of stay even. So really where side's coming from is that same thing forward. So here I am with a forward step. Look, my foot stays pointed. I don't, here if I go backwards, heel, and this is the case where if I'm doing a back one, the heel is now the problem, not the toe. Keep that foot kind of, it's the same way your ladder is. The same way your ladder is. Like if you could see this, I'm gonna do them tiny.
Yeah, as a general rule, your hips will point.
Here I am.
Your feet are pointing.
Right.
So if both feet are forward, your hips will also be forward.
See how that it's still in the vertical of the ladder. So here I am. I keep it that way. And then over here. Okay. So I'm gonna watch, and Rongwalder's gonna do his. Rongwalder's just joining us. He's gonna do his ins and back.
He's still doing some warm ups.
He's yes,
Good to his knee.
yeah. He's just making sure he's covered. He's gonna go a little slower, and he's not gonna do any bouncy stuff. Tell him what the next one is after that.
Next one is 4-step. Or
Arun, that's a little better. Just keep your back straight.
Technically, the next one would be hopscotch, which is probably a bad plan for you
No hopscotch.
with your.
Abelard, that looks so much better. You're not dipping.
All right.
That's excellent. All right, Margaret, I'm looking
Got it
at you.
going.
Yeah, it's a little better. Little better.
You can go ahead and swap the camera.
All right, we're gonna go back to Rongwalder here.
No, we're on Rongwalder.
Oh, we're on Rongwalder. Okay.
Okay. Skiers.
Yeah, it's those backwards ones that you're having the hardest time. Oh, that's better. Okay,
Yeah, I mean, we can
that's right.
come to some.
Oh, yeah, okay.
While Rongwalder runs through his, if people are still going.
I got a couple other people on in farther here. Let me take a look. Oh, Craig's with us. Awesome. Let's see it, Craig.
Get it, Craig.
There he goes. Woo!
Nice.
Man, I think I have my video on fast forward or something with Craig there for a second, because he's looking hot. There you are. Nice. Wait, your shoulders are perfect. Those are great, man. I like that you're changing those back and forward. All right, let's see who else we got here. We got Eric and we got Magrat. Magrat, those are looking good.
I like his pal has a tunic.
I like his pal has a tunic. Stop looking down. Your shoulders are pointing down, Eric. Want those eyes up. All right. We're going to go over to Grimmer. Oh, Magrat first here. See how she's doing. All right, you better make these look. Oh, she's doing with the weights. That's shaming all of us.
Yeah.
Dang. Watch that turning the heel. It's the same thing. Good. Try to keep that foot straight down the ladder.
Now we'll pop over to Grimmer. See how it's going over there. Grimmer and friend.
Hey, good. Nice. He's looking good there. That's the way, Grimmer. Keep working him. There's no better way. This is a great chance. Grimmer has a great chance to work with somebody here and take all the things that we learn and help somebody. And that's really the biggest point with everybody here is I really want everyone to be able to do this. I've already seen Angie. She took some great video of the 1.5 minute drill and did them at practice the other day. And they were excellent. So I'm really hoping. I see Magrat says those are super bad for me backwards. Maybe falling down. She laughed out loud.
Margarita's got it though. Getting a little turn in the hips though.
Yeah, that's okay. You're doing much better. That's a lot better than you did before. Who else we got? Anyone? So you got Paul there. I'm just This is a quick review why Rongvalder's working these.
We're letting Rongvalder get his warm up, get caught up.
Yeah. We did 2 steps in, 2 steps out, or two in and out.
No, we haven't gotten there
Oh,
yet.
we haven't got there yet. Forget it.
3-step cross behind, and then that's.
He just
then
did
we're all
the.
caught up.
I think he just did the 3-step. Didn't you just do the?
I'm
two?
not sure which one's in the order, so I just
Okay,
did what's felt.
that's right. Did you do the TikTok?
Not TikTok.
I know.
We haven't made another
The
name
shuffle.
for it, so it's still a TikTok.
We had something. Rongvalder thought of something the other day. All right. Nice. Good job, Germanicus. I want you to get in those legs. That's it. That's the way to drop that butt into those. Awesome. All right. We're going to go ahead and continue now.
4.
Rongvalder caught up on a bunch of them. You okay?
Now we're gonna do our 4 steps. So we start to the side, and we're going in the ladder, out the side.
And remember, these you can switch up just like any of the drills. Rongvalder's been doing that real nice. He switches forward a couple and back a couple. You can add a couple to them if you want. That's it. He's doing it wrong. You see Rongvalder's keeping his head and the eyes way up. Rongvalder actually even points his eyes higher.
He's like, I'll get out of the way so you can actually see what Rongvalder's doing instead of my head in the camera.
See how his knees are always nice and bent? Don't push it too hard. All right. There's side, there's the backwards. So for you, everyone here, you all can do those change ups now. Eric, keep doing them the way you were, full all the way back and forward, but also add the change, and everyone else can do those change ups that you see where it's like just pick a couple, change back, add 6 steps in or 8 steps in.
Oh yeah, this can become just a continuous sideways shuffle all the way across your yard if you want.
And if you want to add more steps and you don't have the room, then you can just be in here.
Yeah. I don't
Arun,
think there's
if you
a lot
bend your
of,
knees more, you get a little bit smoother.
Oh, good. We got Louis here now.
2 and 3.
it's like I don't know that
Yep.
there's a lot of fights where you're going to end up going straight sideways that long, but you never know. You might make it happen that way now because it works for you.
And in this case, Rongvalder's 2 and 3ing it, so he's just changing up tempo. Now, when you 2 and 3 it and things like this, or you change them up, you're going to add some thought in there. And this is the reason actually we do that is so that you can get comfortable adding thought to your footwork. So just beware. If I'm like, okay, I'm going to go 2 down the ladder and 1 back, and then 2 down the ladder and 1 back, 2 down the ladder and 1 back. So you can call it out to yourself at first. That's perfectly fine. But later, the idea is that you can do it a little easier without thought because we're actually practicing it. Good part is you're carrying that thought into your actual footwork practice. And there's that underlining ability to convert thought to execution. That's a technique. It takes time to convert that without overthinking it.
Ah, yes. Okay.
All right.
Next up, while we're facing the side of our ladder, we're going to go ahead and hop into our in and out out. So, step in, step back out.
Remember, dropping your hips in there. All in, all out.
You guys want to do it backwards?
Well,
Aha, moving the ladder.
usually we come and either flip to the other side, get the other side, or just come back.
And I did that. There we go.
You want to get real fancy, but if you come down here, figure out how to turn around.
Ooh, look at you. Look at
You
her.
get
You
a
can-
whole circle,
Exactly.
and then do it the other way.
All right, I'm going to watch a little bit. So this is one of these that you'll tend to want to rock your shoulders. Margarita, you're doing these excellent. Your whole body's in and whole body's out. That's great. Great. I mean, your hips are in, your hips are out. That's perfect. Go up to Haroon. I want to see what the hell he's doing. There we go. He was playing around there. We're watching you now. You better do them right. There you go. Yeah, he's adding speed to Haroon's really adding a nice speed and burst into there. You can see a little bit of the rock of the body, but that's not necessarily terrible.
Well, and his upper body is still moving forward, backwards
Exactly.
as well. The legs are just moving more, and I'm kind of fine with that.
Yep.
Personally.
Nice, Craig. You look good too. Very nice. So this is a really subtle drop-in step, and you're keeping your body the same. You're not rocking your body, all of those pieces. Go up to Abelard. Let's see what's going on there. That's it. Get those, keep those hips under you. Pull those shoulders back. There we go. Hands up a little higher. That's the way. So this is a general problem, not only for two-sword, but for everyone, is that you want to drop those hands down. And if you drop those hands down, your shoulders go with it. If you want your hands lower, then you're going to have a bigger bend. All right, then your knees are going to have to be bent more. That's better. Good. Nicely done. All right, let's see what Magrat's doing here. She's the boss with those dumbbells in her hand. Awesome. That's good.
Once the internet catches up.
Very nice. Woo! You're getting faster at those.
With weights and everything.
I know. All right, I see. Got Wilfram and I don't know if both are in the house. There we go. Nice. Oh, hey.
Yep. Practicing some variations over there.
Variations. No, that's the way.
That's
And
good.
she's really working her hips.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, she's working those double steps sideways. Nice, Elthwin. That's the way. Good job, Charles. All right.
Alrighty. Oh, so now we're going to go through the straightforward version. This is our hopscotch but stepping. We're going to go step out to the side, step into the box. Trying to stay flat. Legs are just drifting around in and out underneath you.
And backwards.
And backwards.
And then backwards. And if you could go ahead and switch in the middle.
We need a second coming back down ladder.
Huh?
We need a second coming back down ladder.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's, I have it.
We did in your backyard for a while.
Or
We
just,
had two of them set up, and I would just go down one and back around the other.
you know, we could do is
When
make
we
a
had more
circular
people.
ladder.
there is one.
We should
I
get.
actually got
we
it.
should get the circle ladder, big circle
go.
ladder.
I don't have one yet, but I found it a
We
long
need
time
a big,
ago.
giant circle ladder.
And they make it specifically for soccer and stuff.
So you just go to the end.
Yeah, you just go to the end of the circle ladder and stop at the end. All right, I like that everybody's going ahead and kind of adding their own thing to these exercises, especially after you're done with the first time through. When you have time, change it up. Make it so it's like, okay, you know, I'm going to do this. Now I'm only going to go 3 back, 1 forward, 3 back, 1 forward. Because that engages your thinking while doing. That's a hard transition for a lot of people. Where you're, okay, now I got to think about doing a specific thing. So here I am.
1 forward, 1 back, 2 forward, 3 back.
Yeah. 1, 2,
Tipping out
3.
That'd
1,
be great.
2. 3, 4, 1. So the idea is
It'll get you.
you're thinking and executing. This is that transition, and I'm really building up to kind of the question that Bess asked. And that is fighting thinking, or is it just, you know, the lack of thought and execution? And there's a number of different schools on that. I know me and Rongvalder's school is very hard for people to understand sometimes, only because we do a lot of thinking.
Thinking, but I'm not thinking.
So what I'm trying to help here is everybody understand. I can think. Yeah, I can think while I'm doing an exercise. And it's just like breathing. I can breathe while I do an exercise. It becomes one thing. And that's the important part. All right, next.
All right, so now we're gonna move into our jab jumps. So both feet facing forward. I'm not opening up sideways. I'm going jump in, jump out, or jump from one side of the ladder to the other, debate based on what kind of space you got. So all the way down.
Again, should be on that front. Lots of weight back. So your hips falling forward, hips falling back. This is a minute hip shift. The better you get at this one, the more you understand your body working, the smaller motions and things you can take means minute control of your motion and your balance is one of the hardest things to get. So these little motions are actually very difficult. So you've got to really focus on. Sometimes do this down really slow where it's like forward, backward, forward, backwards. And then sometimes do it fast. And don't worry about that form.
And don't forget to swap and put your other foot in front and do it again, leading with the other foot.
I'm not good at this one. Why?
I feel the same.
Yeah, a little bit of. And remember, don't allow that foot to turn in. Right? You
Real
guys all,
hard.
everybody here understands by now. We harp on this. But the more comfortable you get with this,
Instinct will have you doing sideways. Gotta stay this way.
yeah,
If I'm this way, I can't hit that guy now. That doesn't work real well.
because the hip is behind you.
And then after we've done that, we're gonna move into switch foot. So we're starting on that same stance, but I'm just swapping my feet.
This again, you can add, and Ronvalder would do it, you can add a little bit of a throw in on it if you want. All right? So here we are. Okay? You can add a throw if you want, but keep those hands up.
And speed it up and you add in a throw every couple of steps because it's so fast you can't actually throw one every single time. It'll mess with your feet too.
And it messes with your feet.
Big time.
So if you can't do the throw and the switch step right away, stop and just do them together. In other words, yeah, there, that's the way, Abelard. Here, I'll show. I'm going to have you do this. I'm gonna highlight you, Abelard, just so everybody can see. All right, there we go. So Abelard's doing a nice job, and then every once in a while he throws. You notice he's throwing those when his front foot's going forward. So as that foot lands, his sword lands. All right. So that's the things we got to be thinking about. Very nice. All right, Grimmer, let's see it.
But yeah, as a side note to
There,
everyone
nice.
having issues with these or just wanting to work on them in the general physical fitness, if you go on YouTube and search for HIIT workouts, HIIT, high intensity interval training workouts, almost all of them are going to be heavily based in doing lots of squats and lots of squat jumps and lunge jumps and all kinds of plyometric jumpy stuff that will feed right into this and will very quickly make it much easier than it was.
And the good part about it is they're not super long and you can burn.
Well, yeah, you type in however long you want to do. They've got 15-minute ones, 30, 20, an hour, whatever workout you feel like doing today. There's one out there. There's millions of them. I guarantee you can find one that works for you.
We'll post something up in the forum a little bit later.
I have even found ones that are low impact now while still being good cardio if like the jumping is really bad for you and you can't do that much jumping because your knee or your back or whatever it is.
So
they're out there.
Grimmer, watch his front foot is turning in. Make sure it's straight at you. And I want everybody to take a real quick chance and get some water. I know I need some anyways. Everybody get some water in them real quick.
I brought you a bubbly water. I don't know if you want an hour later.
Later. All right.
All right, 1 hour with a helm is good enough.
What's that? Who's
1
talking?
hour with the helmet's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. You don't want to go too much. Work it slowly back up to what you're comfortable with. And remember, most of the times, you're not going to do an hour of straight like this in a helmet, right? Most of your fights are going to be, you know, relatively short. For most people, it's less than 2-3 minutes. But even a long fight, the average long fight could be 10 minutes. So just be aware that there's a lot of time. Here, we're constantly moving. So.
All right, my friends, I got to get out. It's good to see everybody.
It's awesome to see you, Arun. Thank
Bye,
you for coming.
Arun.
See you guys next week.
Okay.
Bye.
All right, so let's go ahead. We're going to work on the next one.
Next one is our big forward, small backward jump. So get in your stance. I do 2 and 1 on the ladder, but really it's
Go ahead with her. Yep.
bigger forward, smaller backward.
Long
forward,
jab step.
backward. This is another one to watch out for that back foot turning sideways and your hips going out. It's really tempting because you can get a stronger jump that way, but shot throwing thing.
So this is one thing, and it's kind of, I noticed it while I was just doing this, especially on our slippery, dry grass area here. And that is, sometimes you will slide. You've got floors in the SCA that are super slippery. Most of the time, what happens on very slippery floors is if I'm leaning forward, then I slide, I go. My foot comes out because I'm top heavy. What we're doing is learning to drive from the hip, and Ronvalder can attest to this, is I don't care if I slide because half the time I'm sliding anyways. And then my hips are just gliding with it. So if I go back here and I slide.
Balanced as you slide.
Exactly. You're always
upright.
kind of balanced. So that's another thing that this does.
Remember the stack of books. If you keep the stack of books vertical, it can keep sliding when your foot slides.
All right, we did long step forward, long step back. I think Slide's going to switch her feet.
Whatever your funny foot forward is, swap from your normal. Rinse, repeat.
That's it. Switch your feet when you're done. All right, I'm going to take a look at some folks. Let's see it, Paul. Hold on. Replace your spotlight. All right. Nice. Very nice. I like you keeping your hands mid body there is a little higher. Good. Abelard, I like you doing that too. Very, very nice. Let's see. I'm going to take a look at who's that? That's Paul.
Last one will be turning.
Yeah. So watch you're turning your front foot, and Ronvalder captured it. I know you fence a good bit. Just make sure your back foot, Paul, is not perfectly straight back. It needs to be a little forward so you engage that hip.
Can I address one?
Yeah.
I don't know if this is the camera.
Hold on, I'm gonna switch you guys to Ronvalder. He has a little more clarification here as well.
So we keep talking about making sure your feet are in the right place when you do this one, and then make sure it's here when you do this one, and here when you do this one. These are not different. So we're reminding you because that's the one we're on, but that's not specific to that particular exercise. Throughout all of these, your hip, your firing hip faces forward. You sit down and your feet point forward. That applies to all of these. So when you do any of them, that's what we're talking. Every time we're like, your foot's turning out, your hip's this, your butt's that. This is it. This hip forward. This is the consistency. This is why we can change stances. So even when I go funny foot, my feet are still forward. This hip is still prepped and aiming. I don't step forward this way. I've disengaged my hip. My back foot's turned out. I lost my range and my power. So it's always this. So whether we're doing lunge or flipping ourselves sideways, this has to be forward. Or even when we're turning, it's the same thing. I am turning to keep this in line. That's what it all comes down to, all of it. So every time you do these, make that your consistent place.
And I think that's a really super important piece is sometimes you're like, oh, I have to do this in this exercise. It isn't. It's really, this is why like even our side to side ones across the ladder, why we tell you to keep that foot pointed down the ladder is so your hip stays in that position as well. And just to add a little bit more depth on hip position, if you are my opponent and I'm here and I drive that hip, I'm driving straight into you. If my foot is turned out here and I push, now this is straight. I'm not actually driving my power. My power when I drive, the farther it goes away from your opponent. So that becomes a swing instead of a drive. This comes into an example. Drumwelder, come here for a second. This is an example of power. I'm going to show you a little closer. There we go. So if I take his hand, here we are, in fact, turn towards me. Here's his hand. I got the back of it. All right. If I push very hard for him to stop me from pushing, or it hurts my shoulder. This is very difficult. Now watch. If I push forward, it's super easy. It's just like doing a bench press, right? He can't stop that. So the idea is power going forward is easy. Power coming sideways becomes very difficult.
I'm going to add to this, but only because we start talking about philosophy. So you can see when he presses across, I've got fair strength because the width of my feet. Pushing this way, when he's pushing me this way, I have less because I'm narrower this way than I am this way. Okay, but here's everything been worked on. So now he does a 45 and pushes on me this way.
Oops, sorry, slippery hands.
I cannot stand because my feet are in line this direction.
Because his hips are wrong. So now, literally, I'm pushing him into his weakest point. Now, watch. If I try to go this way, sideways, so if I'm over-rotated, feet are wrong, hips are rotated, no, I can't. So that's the idea and why we concentrate on hips so much here is those exact two things. All of those help you deliver a harder shot without as much energy. Now, caveat, some people will require you to give them more energy. And there are going to be times like, oh, I'm working a bang, bang. I know I can hit this, bang, but he's not taking them. So now I'm like, bang. I'm going to set up really hard in the ground and then I'm going to really pop. So I sometimes I have to add more shoulder and I have to add more ground to actually hit my opponent hard enough. But because you know the weakness, you know how to execute against it. So that's a big part. I'd rather be out there popping and going, figuring out, all right, I have to give this guy more stuff. I just threw that. He still missed the block. I think I can hit that by stopping and actually delivering. But I know it before I do it. Instead of, I don't know if this is going to work. I'm going to stop, bang, and he makes a block and counters. I don't know. So by getting into a place where you know better, it's safer. You can execute better and you win much more often. All right, next one.
Trying to keep from burning my shoulders so bad.
Did you put stuff on?
I did, but
Oh, I get it.
it's coming off already. And I'm
coming
too
off already.
sweaty to put more on, really. All right, last one of the day. Turning step. We are still facing our ladder from the side in a stance, 1 foot forward, 1 foot back. Back foot points down the ladder. Knife flip around into my stance. Point, flip around. Back foot every time. After you've done it all with your back foot, you'll go back and do it with your front foot. But this time,
Now, just to build on what we said, you're watching your feet to make sure they're right. Now watch your hips.
Hips pointed, hips pointed.
get on the ladder and then flip back around.
So she's dangerous the whole way through that.
Right. So if I'm literally standing right here, and she's here, her hips are on me, my hips are wrong. So I turn and she passes again. My hips are wrong, I turn. So she passes again. My hips, yep. If I don't turn right, and she's ahead of me, she's leading this exercise, I'm behind. if you lead the fight, you have a much better chance of winning that fight.
Yeah.
If you can't do a full circle, do a quarter. Terrible quarter.
Your eyes are up. It's pulling your shoulder.
Just pulling it down
just a little bit. You see? So what I pointed out is, as accurate as Brownus is doing it, he looked down with his eyes, but it was just enough to pull his head a couple degrees. So his body went from here, and he looked down, and as he worked, he ended up.
You see how my shoulders, how his shoulders are
now
falling
the shoulder
forward?
shift. So it's subtle. He's still strong here, but he's not as strong as he is here. And what happens is he begins to lose headshots.
Yes.
So what we watch for is, building on our philosophy, if in our process here, I see him beginning
Give your
to
sword.
lean, I know he's become weak.
Yeah.
High. Keep my focus here, my threat, and then sink it down here.
And then you notice how I start leaning into trying to pick up that shot.
Now he's sure that I want a leg shot. So all I have to do is sit down and I can throw over the top.
Because my shield is down too.
Now, if I commit my a whole body change. Okay, so that's part of where our philosophy starts to apply in application. Really?
So that's an important, again, I think we talked about that maybe once before, but this is the important piece. Like when I fight Rongvalder, I look for literally a half an inch turn down in his shoulders, because then I don't care about my offside head. He has to make a bigger movement. I can respond to that movement. I look for getting 1 inch outside his outside foot, because then I know he has a circular shot instead of a jab shot. So this is that we're talking about building thinking into these exercises. That thinking goes right into your fights as well. If I'm fighting and moving, and I can see I'm pulling, kind of the guy starts looking down and his shoulders roll, I have more opportunities. So we're trying to recognize those things as we go through them.
Shake the speaker a little bit when it's not shading me.
Yeah.
Because all of our electronics are black and get very, very
They
hot
do.
in the sun. One day they're going to overheat and melt. This is my concern.
All right. So I'm going to make you guys this time, and we're going to demo what to do with a partner before we go in to do this exercise. At first, you could do this with a partner without anything as far as sword and shield goes.
Like a sword.
But later, as you add people, this is an exercise you can do with a sword and shield as well, preferably a boffer.
Pretty.
So we're going to go ahead and I'll show you what, and then I have to prep my phone. So we're going to get a drink in a minute, because those were all our ladder drills. But before we do that, we're going to go through, and everybody's going to hate it. We're going to go through the 1.5-minute movement drill again.
Shield or no shield?
No shield. All right. So we're going to go through that 1.5 minute constant movement, tension on tension. And even if you're alone, I want you to think you really need to visualize what you're doing to an opponent in front of you. Like I'm going around here,
Oh, well.
right? I'm backing away.
Yeah.
I'm going forward.
And you can 100% definitely beat an imaginary opponent, so you should behave like it.
Okay. So if you do have somebody, there's at least one person here with a person. The idea is to keep this range. You're going to actually get in a position where you're actually connecting with your opponent. A lot harder to do when you don't really have one. Visualize well and try to create that artificial connection. But when you have an opponent, the idea is, here we go. So here's our distance. I'm gonna push, and then she's gonna counter push. Okay.
We always do it at the same time.
So the idea is gonna be get that, create that connection. You notice how we're doing jab steps, we're doing sideways steps. We're holding the sword to try to keep our shoulders up. All right. So let me prep my phone, and then we're gonna go ahead and add the 1.5-minute drill on this. Everybody get water first. And just like you, I really don't want to do this either.
We did it on Thursday, and it was very miserable.
Or am I in
Except
call?
he carried around a helmet and a boffer, and I actually got to throw, and it was extra miserable.
Oh, that sucks. In call, it won't let me turn up the sound on this.
Yes.
Oh.
Drag down, and you can get all of them.
Awesome. There you go. I think I was in airplane mode. All right. All right, let me get water. My phone's prepped.
Whoa.
All right. No, you're just ending up like me,
Well,
which is terrible.
I have a lot of your influence, to be fair.
All right, we're going to get prepped and go. And let's see everybody's ready to do this. We're going to be nice and only do it once today. Checking out, see.
We could do a 1-minute round with a 1-minute
Abelard wants to know what your
2nd
shirt
round.
says, side.
Oh, it's stuff left over
Tilt
from
back a
when I
little
was doing circus classes.
There you go. To do what?
These are the shirt from my circus
Ah,
classes.
to-do list.
And I was doing aerial silks, so these are
Hip
all
key, scorpion,
moves on the aerial silks.
meat hooks. I like the meat hooks ones.
Because I did circus before I did combat.
Skin the cat. All right, looks like everybody's ready to go. Let me just make sure everyone else is out here. I don't want to leave Bess out because she loves these. She's been waiting for these. Yeah, look, she got a giant smile on her face. She's already doing them, in fact. She's like, I want a 3-minute.
So today we're going to try and remember to pace ourselves and not go balls to the walls for the first 30 seconds because you're going to be done then.
All right,
Learn from my mistake last week.
here we go. Remember the first ding or the first kind of weird noise is the prep to go, and then we'll go. And then there'll be a weird noise, but it's the knocking. It's the ding in the bell that tells you when the round's done. And
You get a 10-second warning buzzer. If you
2, 1, go.
Round 1.
You like that? Oh, sorry. In the face.
Be careful when practicing with partner. Not to hit them in the face.
10 minutes, 10 seconds. 10 minutes.
10-minute warning, yes.
Nice.
10-minute warning, my bad.
All right. Everybody rest for a second. Hopefully you're all breathing as hard as I am. Craig says yes. Everybody feel good after that one?
No, I got hit in the face. I'm sad now.
It looks like everybody's really happy to maybe do another one of these. Or am I imagining things?
We
Give me
feel
something.
good. The phone doesn't. We decided we go to martial arts techniques because of the lack of space. We're keeping the footwork.
Yeah.
And Wolfie just stepped on the phone.
That's why I say let's
Oh.
not in the door.
And Eric, we definitely have a makeshift shade set up over the laptop, but the
Charles
Bluetooth
did this.
speaker doesn't fit under there.
Charles did this for 7 minutes for his Taekwondo testing, so he says we should do 7 minutes.
Sure.
Ah! So if we do it for 7 minutes, it's all Charles's fault.
We can do 7 1-minute rounds.
There
with
we
like a
go.
5-minute rest in between each.
Okay, Charles, I don't care about borders being closed. Where do you live?
If we did it like a 1-minute round with a 1-minute rest, we could all do 2 or 3. You'd be surprised.
All right, so we're gonna do this one more time. And if you're totally not tired, I want you to get a little. I want those bursts, those jab steps, and those side steps. I want them to be a little bit burstier, and then go back into flow like literally if you're running like you're running a marathon. Go back, get heart rate down, and then jump back in again. Oh, Rongvalder's gonna come do this with you? Awesome. Good. That sounds good.
Alrighty, worn out. What are you doing?
All right. Once Rongvalder got his sword, his grace shenanigans to you.
Yes, you're great.
Ooh, that was or your grace like that. I can't say because Facebook could censor me.
I think everybody got it.
You don't get to actually swing your sword at me though. That
It's
one
like a
hurts
bad
more.
All right. And I did. You threw right when I was throwing at your sword. All right, and hit me. All right, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. That's it. Nice. I love Elthwin's fighting against her pill. This is good. Yeah, keep it moving. In and out. Nice. Abelard, you're looking good. Get that butt under you. There we go. Awesome, Paul. That's the way. Keep that movement. Yeah, some big fast steps sideways every once in a while. Margarita, that looks good. You're breaking. You're great. You're changing up tempo, and that's the hard part for people is that changing a tempo. Really nice throws against the Pell for Elfwin there. That's awesome. That's the way, Craig. Get those bursty feet. That's the way. Good cuts. Good cuts. That's it, Magrat. Good cuts. There you go. Good. That's the way to go. That's the way, Bess. Every once in a while, pop that. Good. That's it. Nice jabs. Jab in, jab out. That's the way. Good. Nice. Keep going. First bell coming up in 5 seconds. Remember, they got 10 seconds after that. You're almost there. Extra power now. It's the end of the round. Give them the end of the round. Let's go. Pop it, pop it. Get that energy up. Let's go. That's it. Bob and weave. All right. Way to go. That's awesome.
Just a little.
How's that one feel, everybody? That looked a lot tougher. That's the way to pick that up at the end. that's when your opponent is down, and that's when you get the chance to really tear somebody apart.
Broke any bones or any elbow.
Wolfram was literally down, unfortunately, but no harm done.
That's the way. That's the way. Okay, everybody get some water. Okay, and then we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna walk a little bit through some pad drills. I know most of you guys, or most everybody here, and I apologize for using you guys. You guys is a bad habit for me after 30 some years. But like I said, I'm gonna just walk through some pad drills so you guys, God damn it, I keep doing that again. So all of you can see what we do for pad drills. There's a couple of methods that are out there that could actually, we'll do a reaction drill first. And somebody came up with a great method to do reaction drills on a PEL by numbering the PEL, taking a spreadsheet, and then creating those numbers in a spreadsheet and randomizing the spreadsheet, and then having voice or a number to voice translation, just call out stuff. So we'll try to see if we can get that working, because I thought it was a great way to do it. But what it does is this is a drill that Lomachenko does, his father does, but it's essentially, it makes you think. Not only just execute, but literally, if I call 1, then I have to hit a 1. I don't know. Lomachenko does it with a giant wall of items. So let's say Rongbalder's here, and he's going to put up his hand. And so what he's going to do is, I'm going to touch it, and then he's going to put it up in a different location. And I might even change hands. And I might think about which side I have to use. All right. So the idea is, what Lomachenko does is he has a wall full of numbers and letters. The computer calls him out, and he's literally touches. He has to find it, touch it, right? And what that's doing is, it's making you think. And remember, kind of the sub context on the day is taking technique and making it natural, and then understanding how to think while you're doing it. Like, not many people, this is normally just done by repetition. And in fact, there are a lot of dukes out there that still can't get to, why do I throw this flow? You know, it's like I set up and then I go in the fight. You know, and so what's really happening, he sets up and he sees something, and then he pressures it because it's natural. And then he sees something, he pressures again because it's natural. He doesn't realize that inside he's actually thinking through these. What we're trying to do here is make you aware there is thinking all the time. No matter if you think it's natural or not, they're still taking something from thinking to natural ability. I don't start out going, this is natural, and just start throwing it. What I do is, I have to throw this perfect shot. Here's, look, I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about it. And then as you get better and better, it's more natural. And then soon, I'm like, as soon as that appears, bang, I throw it. As soon as I'm in the throw, I don't have to think any longer. But at the beginning, you could see there was thought there. And what we're trying to do is make you realize that there's thought in the whole fight. And that part of learning is learning how to take that thought, still be perfect in what you do, categorize it, make it comfortable just as movement is comfortable. And that way I can be thinking, and I can move, and I got natural movement, I got natural defense, and I got natural offense. All of these things are happening at the same time, including this. Probably the biggest thing in a fight is not all of these things, although without these things, you can't do what this wants you to do. But we have to exercise this too. So that's why we're focusing a lot on thinking while you do. This is why I wanted you to change up those ladder drills. And Rongbalder really helped, because Louis was having trouble with translation of how to take the drills and put them in a fight. And Rongbalder's like, let's think about the drill and how now let's break that drill up. You're gonna do it 2 one way, 1 the other, 2 one way, 1 the other. And you keep changing it because now Louis has to think about stuff. And what that did is it took our level of my understanding. I'm like, okay, I'm not talking about thinking during this. And here's a prime example of a technique that I'm not helping you guys with, and I want to try to make sure that that's what we're doing today. Okay, so again, a couple of you have partners. The ones that don't, what we're gonna do is you're gonna get, that's probably gonna be pretty hard. We can actually, I'm gonna have somebody in front of the camera, and if you can watch the camera and just position your hand for the throw, I'll change the camera, and you're gonna execute the throw. All right. So that's what we're gonna do to help you understand how this pad drill works. All right. So if everyone set up your equipment so they can do that. Meanwhile, I'm gonna go grab some pads so I can show everybody else how the pads work. Give me 1 second. If you need some water, get some water. Pad. I'm gonna go grab it.
One on the car. What do you think that is?
Probably about 2:30, you'd say. Oh.
It is, yeah, right on 2:30.
I like that. All right. So guys, get in your fight practices. You got an hour and a half to get this going. All right, so I'm gonna do this first with side here, so you guys can see how it's gonna work. We're gonna work through the reaction drill first, so everybody's able to do this a little bit. So what I do is I point to wherever the pad is pointed is where she's gonna strike. Bang, 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 bang. Yeah.
Too fast, I'm gonna miss. And hit you.
Hit his head. Hit his.
All right.
Hit his what?
My head. So,
Right in the kidney.
what you guys are gonna see, or everybody here is gonna see. I'll get rid of you guys in a minute. After 52 years, I'll get rid of it.
You people.
You peoples. Is this means straight cross? So that sword, if she gets in front of me and throws,
Oh, yeah.
there we go.
I'll get down a little bit so you can see it.
That's that straight across, or the
more flat snap.
more like, yeah, serving a pizza, serving a soup. Right, good. Flat like this is a jab shot.
Straight jab.
Outside,
Offside.
offside. Down here,
Onside leg.
onside leg. Make sure you're dropping. Watch what happens when this is here. Coming forward a little. Watch her drop. See how she drops those legs and back up. Squat. And then back up. Squat. And back up. Good. This is an offside leg. See, again, she squats and throws.
Molinet style here.
Molinet style. I don't care how you throw this. Just go ahead and throw even just a straight offside. That's perfectly fine. If I do this, that means throw it again. As soon as I move and move it back, throw it again.
That little tick means this is your target again.
All right, so I'm gonna look on camera. Everybody gives me the thumbs up if they're ready to try this.
Like
And then Side's gonna watch you guys do this.
like if you're alone, just use a pill and make up your own targets moving around.
Yeah, or you could just go ahead and just make sure your hand is literally, your hand is literally in the same place that the sword would be. All right. So either or, and we'll try this a different way a second time, and just for the heck of it. But this time we're gonna do it this way.
Are we moving?
No,
This is all in place.
all in place.
Make sure we're actually like all in the frame.
There we go. Yeah, just trying to keep you out of the frame when I drop.
Well, there's no way we're gonna do that.
You don't need to throw. I'm just gonna do it to the camera.
Oh, okay.
All right, ready?
Oh,
And
yeah. So if you can see the camera.
yep, and go. Go ahead and watch it. Make sure you're squatting.
It's a little harder if your camera can't be in front of your Pell, but
As long as you're getting the exercise, getting the targeting, I don't care.
oh yeah, Creek figured out it was easier to just drop his sword, face the camera, and he's doing it just with his hands. But that works. That's great. It is a little interesting trying to
All right.
watch because there's a delay.
All right, let's see. I want to go back here and I want to get a thumbs up. If people have tell me how you felt about that drill. I just want to get some feedback because I don't get to watch, and this is more of a virtual drill than many of our other drills. So give me a little feedback.
Yeah, Papa.
Totally worked for me.
Use words. Huh?
It totally worked for me. I just looked at you and hit my pedal.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Yep, agreed. It's a nice exercise.
Great. Good to hear.
Exactly what I needed.
Awesome.
Cool.
So you guys, everyone here, I gotta get rid of that.
It's
Everyone
okay.
here gets that feeling of here, now we're thinking and we're doing. So in a fight, I'm gonna give the old man a hug.
I just wanted to say, if the drills like today were like last week, I came here at 73 and I
You're
went
not-
home at 75.
All right.
Thanks, Caldor.
So again, what we're talking about here is we have a scenario where we have to think in between these. But so in a fight, what's happening is you're watching somebody. They're not holding that up. What they're doing is they're opening it. And you're like, oh, there it is, bang. See, we're thinking and
Visual
executing.
cue.
The think is there's an open spot. The execution is without thought because you know how to throw a sword blow.
Yeah.
And that's what this exercise is for.
I don't know if you saw this in the chat, but Elfwin said she did sort of the same thing by rolling a dice to get random numbers, then recording herself saying them on the phone and using those as the targets. And they also have like boxing apps or just random number generators that will read them out loud that you could use to do something similar, which is a good way to do this that I've heard before as well.
Yeah, we're going to actually try because I want to do one for myself. Somebody else did it with numbers and letters and actually leg, like, you know, onside leg, offside
Yeah,
leg.
if you can
And then they
record
put it
yourself
in
calling
a,
that out.
they put it in a spreadsheet, a giant spreadsheet. And
That's
then they
healthy.
randomized the spreadsheet and then had Microsoft read it back.
Yeah.
So I'd like to
Text
try
to
to get that
speech.
working. If we get that working, we will send it to everybody.
The only thing I like better about this is the visual cue.
Yes, this is a
more
visual
like a
cue.
fight, but the audio cues are still really good for just a little bit of randomized practice and not like having to adjust on the fly, which is very important.
All right, we're going to do it again.
All right.
We're going to let everybody get ready for a second here.
Get all lined up.
Let me know when they look all good.
Everybody looks like they're ready to go.
That's it. Make sure you're dropping for those leg shots. All right.
I have a question for Margarita. Are you holding your sword lower because of the ceiling inside?
There you go. Now we should
Is
be able
that
to hear you.
me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me? Yes, there is a lamp right above me.
So go ahead and ask her.
Margarita?
Yeah.
Yes.
It looked like you were sort of recovering your sword a little low, kind of down into your chest and waist area, and I wasn't sure if that's just because you're inside and trying not to hit the ceiling.
I think I have not that feeling because no one is in front of me, so I hit. It's a little bit difficult.
Okay.
Maybe that's why.
Margarita, I have the same issue. This is actually my dining room, and I have a chandelier right above my head. So I made a sword, a really short sword. So at least I get the sensation, and I don't have to worry about hitting my light.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the best solution, but it's a solution.
That would be my one big feedback from that exercise, was you're just holding your sword kind of low, and that's going to make it hard to pick up and get headshots.
Yeah. So again, the big part here that Side's trying to talk about is be careful. Make sure the one thing, and I don't really care if, and we'll show it here in a second. If you're normally used to holding a sword in a certain position, I just want everyone to understand what's the benefits and what's the minuses of that position. The key is that it always returns to that position. The return is John says this all the time, is one of the most important parts of the fight. If you do not return your sword, you cannot throw it the same way again. If you do not return your sword, you can't make a good block. So just be aware that sword should return all the way as fast as it goes out. The return is a technique on its own. And you can ask Side. Side had a bad habit. Her return was weak.
Her return was really slow.
And we'll show you why her return was slow. She would throw this out, and then she would literally try to pull it back with her wrist first. So it's
like just straight back this
and
way.
then turn her elbow
And
out.
when that's a full weight heavy sword, that was the.
You see how the sword's leaning out while she's still pulling back, and it became really weak. So what happens now is she can do it slow motion. She throws it out, and it's a little, and then she throws, and she literally pulls this elbow there, and then it kind of forms this little loop as it comes back.
I kind of let the sword just keep going where it was going. I'm exaggerating the drop there, but it's
Bang, and then it's pulled back.
kind of making this little loop instead of out and then straight back, which would be ideal, I guess, but is unrealistic when the momentum of a couple pound sword's involved.
And I'm going to tell you, at the time, I didn't even recognize what the problem was. It actually took work. I had recognized that the return was an issue finally, and then it took some work to fix.
Analyzing what the specific issue was took a bit.
So I want everybody to be aware of that. The return of the sword is important. We have to make sure we have good technique there.
Okay.
So here's the piece on a low sword. If you're down and you're essentially mid-height of your body, what happens is I feel more tension to my leg because all she has to do is turn her hand and hit me in the leg. It's going to be a faster blow. But I feel a lot less tension to my head because she throws that. Look where her hand is.
Straight out.
I have my shield
I'm
here.
running right into equipment. I don't have a lot of angles to get to the head without lifting up, which is now a really huge motion, as opposed to up here where it's just straight out.
Right. So up here, now I feel it's all up here. Now, the hard part is I feel less to the leg because she has a longer place to drop, but
gravity is helping me to drop. Gravity is not helping me have to pick this up. So if I start with it up here, dropping is easier than starting here and pushing way up here.
So I just want everyone to be aware of that. Not that you have to change that. I see there's, and a lot of people go into a defense, and I see this with Florentine all the time, and Germanicus, and Abelard. I see both of you guys doing this a little bit. You get into your stance and you hold these down here, right?
Yeah, a low A-frame, absolutely.
Right? These are blocks. But here's what happens. These are hard to change to get these up. While you're doing this, they're throwing shots. So just beware of that. If you raise them a little higher and drop that body, look, my swords are down blocking my legs again, but my body is just lower. So now I can pop up with my legs.
The answer is squat.
Right. Like we keep saying, the answer is squat.
This is why I say that.
So what I would
Wait,
suggest.
Ronis, could you just, this is gonna sound stupid, but sometimes I need to see something a couple of times. Could you do exactly what you did? Put your swords back where you think they should be and then drop so I can see what happens?
So here, you can see my hips, right?
Yep, yep. Yeah.
See what happens here? That's a block. Up here,
This angle is a lot more covered when he drops.
right,
Yeah.
here, let me show. Here, take this, get the other sword. We're gonna show you a sword with the throw on me. So you guys can see what we're talking about. So here's what they're trying to block. Go ahead, throw a leg shot. Right, this is the block. I don't have much to do, right? But look, I'm throwing here, right? I can't, if I lift up here, it's very difficult. It's a long move. So one of my major target areas, the head, is now safe place for them. So you just beware of that the higher shots get harder when you're holding. This is absolutely comfortable, but you lose some of your high shots. So you have to set up so that maybe I throw a sword, bang, I block, bang, while keeping the sword up after the first shot. So now I maybe have, you can kind of cheat.
Split the difference if you want. Pick one up, one down.
Right. But what we tend to do is we tend to get in a position where here's my swords, almost shoulder height. This is the way I normally throw. There's a couple of ways to get this. Now our legs work so good. So here we are. Go ahead, throw. I can actually slip out of stuff now because my legs are here. But now I'm throwing at the head. She's not very comfortable.
No, I'm not.
Right? So now what? Here I am. And I don't care. The legs are gone now.
Yeah, I have to get way down here and basically hit him in the knee to get under the
Right?
block.
So all of a sudden, bang. All I do is pop up, throw it to the head. But you notice my swords are higher on my shoulders, but my body is low. Bang. Right there.
And I'm already dead before I even threw.
Okay.
Hey!
So I wanted to show. Go ahead.
Instead of dropping your hands, you're dropping your body, and the hands follow.
Exactly. And the good part is
Yeah,
you got to watch grounding yourself a little bit. But the good part is you have a lot of power from the ground then.
Your hands
Yeah.
end up in the same place that you had them. You've just moved your body down
Exactly.
to meet them. So relative to your body, they're higher.
So I want you, for everyone, I want you to go on the Pell for a second. And I want you to throw 10 shots with your hand mid-waist. I want you to throw 10 headshots. Hand to mid-waist. And then I want you to raise your hand, shoulder height, and throw 10 headshots. Side manhandling Bob here. Louie's not around the house, so she has to push somebody around.
I found myself dropping to get the same angle. What? Oh yeah.
Using an extra light sword.
I may have to adapt it because my knees might not take it, but this is the start. Ugh.
Right. So how do you feel with your hands a little higher?
I feel like I got a few more options.
Exactly. And you're a lot more dangerous to the one place that everybody's afraid of, and that is getting hit in the head. And especially with you being out west, you're going to cream people's elbows and their head because they tend to look over the tops of their shields and they tend to tent block. So as they tent block, their elbows up in the air.
Yep. Although here's the thing, Branos. Out here, it's considered incredibly gauche to hit the arms and the elbows.
Well, it's also incredibly gauche to block your head with your elbow.
Yeah.
And actually talking to all of the Westies, they're the ones that are even bringing that up. If you raise your arm to block your head, then that's on you.
Yep.
And you know what? What I do when I fight Westies, I say, don't worry about the arm. You know, I'm just hitting it because, you know, this is, I know you don't have to take it. I just know that, you know, this is a shot that's going to get your arm back from tent blocking. So you can be polite to them, but in their head, they'll go, I shouldn't still be doing that.
Well, it's interesting too, because dropping the hands, not only for my bad knees, but it feels almost like a lower form of tent blocking, except instead of doing it up here, you're doing it down here.
Right. So now if you raise your hands to your shoulders a little, all of a sudden now you're free and your back is straighter.
Oh. Yeah.
Right? So that's, how did everybody else feel? Which was more comfortable? And Margarita, I'd like to hear from you because you were using your hand a little lower. How do you feel between the two of those?
It's a little bit complicated at the moment. Maybe I was too long out from fighting. I don't know. So I have to try it later on the Pell, maybe.
Yeah, try it later on the Pell, and remember to concentrate on headshot. One of the biggest pieces here happens in this is when the person has a shield in front of them, it's very difficult from a mid-body block or mid-body hand position to get above the shield. So that's why we're trying to make sure that you guys understand the difference between these. And one way to do that, if you really want to do it, is we have a shield stand that we use to do it, but you can also put, you know, if you have to, a cardboard box, couple cardboard boxes, you can stack a couple of cardboard boxes right in front of your Pell, all the way up to here. And then from here, try to hit them in the head. Right? So a couple boxes, I'm down here and I have to try to raise and hit, or I'm here and I just drop it. You can see that's a much faster throw. So that's another cheap way. Put a couple of empty cardboard boxes in front of your Pell and then throw above it. Because those angles on the head are super important. All right. So that's a couple. I showed you those mostly because I wanted to make sure that you understood what the mid-body shot and how that block works, because we're going to go through some left-handed stuff here in a minute, and I wanted to make sure you understood why that starts becoming important to make those blocks. We'll go through the left-handed stuff. It reinforce even a little bit more. Good part is Grimmer and Charles will be able to actually use it because we got a lefty righty there. The hardest part about taking these hands from up here.
This is Nirvana, lefty.
Oh, bummer. Well, somebody's going to have to pretend they're a righty. So the hard part about taking these hands from up here and putting them down here is now your tips also come forward, and it's very hard to throw a circular blow. So, and this is also a bad habit. Here I'm here, I want to drop. This is not how you drop, right? We learned this a long time ago. This is how you drop. Okay? So I'm making sure you're all aware of that. All right. I think Cy ran in for a second. I'm going to show one more. This drill you're not going to necessarily be able to do. You can do by yourself. But this drill is going to be what is our pad drill. And I think we've shown this one other time. I just want to make sure as people are able to go out and see other people that we're able to go ahead and make sure that you're able to do these drills. Angie just did these drills with somebody else at her practice, which was awesome because they did the drills. The other person wasn't in any gear. They just had a boffer sword and they walked through those drills. She then did the 1.5 minute drill with a buckler and they used literally a pool noodle so it couldn't hurt you. And they did a 1.5 minute, even with some striking in that drill. And so you're able to take people that have no experience and give them an experience, a real martial arts experience. Oh, you're gonna get dressed and go? Okay, go. So this is what we're gonna do. And I'm gonna have to skip the pad drill. Got back side. No, go. No. So no, go. So in this drill, I want, and you can actually do this on your ladder. Here we are. I want you to just take that belt point. We went through this one other time. We're just going to walk right down the ladder. Pushing your hip. Make your hip carry you. Small feet. right? The next step is I want throw on the forward step. And then we can make it, there's no stopping. There should be no hesitation, no slowing. Bang, 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 bang. Here we go again. Falling forward, bang, bang, bang. Try to make sure that there's two places you can throw a blow here. This foot starts coming off the ground, bang, that's your throw. It catches up, sword comes back, bang, that's your throw. The other way is the reverse hip, and I'm not real fond of that. So, but if you're throwing offside, this actually 100% can work. Bang, here's your throw. Bang. You notice the throw goes out with the front leg in this case. You can make it go the other way, but you'll lose distance. As that front leg is going forward, that hip is going forward. Bang, my energy is all going forward. That's the key. You're taking natural energy and delivering it through your weapon. That's why we throw that way. So I'm going to watch everybody. And the first thing I want you to do is make sure that you can actually walk down the ladder. In other words, fall down the ladder. What I mean by that is lead with the center, with your hip, and walk right down that ladder. That's it. Your hip you should just be following your hip. And then that's the way. Good. See who else I got here. Go ahead, Margarita. I want to see you go ahead and fall right down that ladder. Yeah, you're fine. Nice. That's it. You're just pushing with your hip and your feet are going to fall right underneath you. Almost like a drop step. Like hold that foot on the ground and yep. There you go. You should feel yourself, almost feel like you're gliding. And Abelard, you look perfect there. You're gliding right across that floor. That's awesome. Let me go to the next one here. I wanted to see other people. That's it, Magrat. You should just glide. Go ahead. Yes, that's it. Perfect. Like to see that. And best. Very nice. Best, man. You're rock solid. That is awesome. And you're doing it backwards. So the next step is I want you to go ahead and do it forward and backwards. So here I am. I am literally sitting into it. Whoa! Don't catch yourself on the ladder. So here I am. I just sit into this empty and I step back. Okay? And then I shift back forward. And I shift back the other way. And I shift back forward. And I shift back the other way. All using my hips. You notice my back stayed nice and straight. All right. So I want you to do that a couple of times, and then we're going to add some shots to this. Margarita, very nice. Germanicus, very nice. Go ahead and raise those hands a little bit. Good.
Do other female fighters notice the slight sway when they move with their hips?
Sway side to side in your back. Sway where?
A little bit of the side to side, you know, like the kind of dirty dancing now.
If I tighten my core, I don't sway, but if my core isn't really tight, then yes, I feel it.
I used to have a real big problem with that because I'd done a lot of belly dance back in the day before I came to fighting, and my hips would just naturally sway and it would mess up. It would take power out of what I was doing. So yeah, I've learned to hold core really controlled and actually like really control that movement doesn't start happening in that plane or going undulating up and down. So it took a bit of concentration and work, but I'm starting to be able to get that to stay still now.
Good, and you know, I'm glad you.
Perfect, ladies. Thank you.
Yes.
That is something that we've noticed as a major power problem, on me included, and I for the last several years that it tends to crop up in women more than men, where the hips just twist like that, I also did belly dance. I'm pretty sure that's where it came from on me, but it crops up in women that didn't do belly dance as well. And it was a major point of frustration because I kept getting told, well, you got to use your hip. You got to use your hip.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there going, I am using my hip. Look, it's
Yep,
working.
yep. Nice. Shimmy, shimmy. I've been having that problem at practice.
Negating it.
Yeah, they're moving. They're moving when they shouldn't, and they're actually when I'm coming forward and I'm defending pretty well. They're giving my opponent a tiny bit of angle because they're pulling back. So it's really something I'm gonna have to watch.
Yeah, okay, for that, yeah. I'm like, use your hips. Okay. Well, your shoulders are going. No, they're not. You told me to use my hips, so I'm using my hips. My shoulders don't move. Like,
Right.
You gotta practice, like it moving it, like a robot almost.
And I think Saib has it 100%. What happens, and she's going to show you, she'll show you better.
I was turning my shoulder too and the hips.
Oh, well, watch this hip.
My center of rotation was through the center of my body, so I wasn't actually getting any power.
Because one hip is going backwards, one's going forward, so you're negating that power.
So I had to learn how to plant this hip in space and rotate around it.
And push that hip
And that
forward.
actually transfers the power from the foot through the hips to the shoulder all the way forward by keeping this one in place.
Actually, Saib,
here to here.
when people ask about female fighters, that might be something because we can do that. You know, hips and shoulders move independently. That might be one thing to be cognizant of. Because yeah, they do. They can. I can totally. One goes back, one goes forward. Shoulders moving.
So as I have taken to telling people, whenever someone asks, well, how do I teach the woman how to fight, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, you don't teach her a special different technique, but you keep in mind stuff like this as the troubleshooting guide. When something's not working, this set of problems or underlying causes are more likely for the woman than for the man, and vice versa. There's stuff that's more likely for the man than the woman. Troubleshoot the problem.
I want to raise my hand real quick and say I was one of those men to whom that happened.
Don't teach something
I
different.
was told to move my hips figure 8 belly dance style. Did not generate power at all.
Exactly. So I'm hoping that all of you realizing that you're gaining, you know, everyone here is gaining a ton of understanding about fighting that a lot of times people don't get a chance to understand. And I try to really dive in as much as I can. There's going to be stuff I miss. I love questions like this because it makes me think more, because I'm not perfect either at it. Even after 30 years, I'm still learning stuff, and I love learning more stuff. So don't be afraid. I'm not one of those guys that's like, no, it's this way. And you can ask Saib. I have to change stuff all the time. Yeah, and sometimes, yeah, I get a little grumpy because I have to think, but then I think about it, I'm like, oh, I can do this much better. And I have. And in 1 year, I've learned more about teaching than 30 years of teaching. So just to give you a feel. So we're back to moving backwards and forwards. And you can see it's nice and smooth. Now, what I want is as this foot comes forward, the sword strikes as it falls. All right, and then I want you to just go ahead and do the same thing when I go backwards. As this foot comes back, I strike. Wait. Okay, because your opponent will be coming onto you. So the opponent will be coming, forcing you backwards. So backwards, I take that back. So let's do forward first, and then because the backwards is a little more difficult. Here we are. Step, throw. Step, throw. The end of your throw should be this foot just falling forward as it strikes. So don't start leaning this at the same time. Ground, I'm starting to throw, bang.
Can you say that again, Bronis?
Here we go. I'm leaning, remember that leaning onto that front leg? Here's my hip going forward. Here's our exercise, I'm on my toes, bang. So as I'm holding as long as I can, reaching, and then I fall into it. Here we can't hold quite as long because we're going to keep walking. But the key is to remember, just like our warm-up exercise, pushing my body, bang, bang. So try to do that. Get enough space you can. Do 2 or 3 pads. Here we go. Bang, bang, bang. It helps just breathing out. That bang at the end for me helps my timing and my breath. Okay, I want you guys to do that 3 or 4 times, and then we're gonna go and do it backwards. If you find yourself hesitating, then you need to fix that. There should not be any hesitation. And my feet got totally off of there. All right, let me take a quick look. Nice, Margarita. That's exactly what I see. Remember, go ahead and make that passing. You're actually going to be walking with this. So you want to walk like you're walking normally, just like we were doing in our exercise. That's it. What we are learning to do here is throw in movement. I showed the pad exercise, and I do this pad exercise with a lot of people. Lots of nights, lots of dudes. And they'll get their feet wrong. Here's a classic. This is what I see all the time. I'm walking, stop, throw. I'm walking, stop, throw. Because they're used to planting. They're used to planting their body, stopping everything, and then delivering a shot. We don't always, especially with the movement exercises we do, we're always just changing the angle. So we learn how to throw inside those movements. We don't want to, oh, I'm changing my angle. I'm going to stop, I'm going to throw. Then I'm changing. I'm going to stop, and then I'm going to throw. Because every time you stop, you give them an opportunity to stop and throw too. So instead, here I am. I move, bang. I move, bang. I move, bang. I move, bang. You notice that there don't need to be stops inside. Again, caveat, if you need to throw harder, there is some times when you're going to need to really ground those feet and grind it out with your shoulders and deliver more strength into it. So there will be those people that you have to do that with. But that should be at the end when you figured out I can hit them. I have to now add more power. Too many people are like, I'm going to go power. And then they don't realize that there's power telegraphs more shots. All right, so we're gonna, everybody's kind of getting their chance here. I want to show how to do backwards now. So, let me do this. All right, so when I go backwards, I literally, as I step with my foot, my shield foot, here's my longest extension. And then I pull it back, and then longest extension. Here I am again. Step, bang. Step, bang. Step, bang. Now, you notice I'm going nice and slow. This is how slow I'd like you to start. Step, that's the shield, or opposite foot, bang. Here's my longest distance. So if you're funny foot already, bang, step, bang. So at the beginning, if you're a funny foot already, you would throw and then step, instead of if you're regular footed or seal footed forward, you would step and then throw. So,
okay,
nice
so the hip that is furthest forward is the one that fires first.
So the hip forward is
the one that fires.
Yes, it's the one that fires off. You can throw it from here, but I'm going away from power, including my hip. So the problem is if I throw here and then step and I throw here, I'm really shortening myself. Not that you can't do that, especially if the opponent's already on you. Maybe you actually need to do that. But in this case, we want to keep as much distance as possible. I'm running away from. So here's two things: either I'm leaving my opponent, or I'm actually pulling my opponent into me so I can hit them. Lots of great boxers like, oh God, he just fought the other night. I apologize. But a lot of really defensive boxers like Muhammad Ali, let's take an example. he leans against that rope. He's always back here, and he's pulling that person to lean over him. And he's like, bang! He hits the guy. He's like, I'm gonna throw a punch. He's leaning, bang! And then he's back again, right? That way, he's pulling that opponent into him. So there literally may be times when I push on an opponent because I know they're aggressive. And then as he's coming at me, I'm falling back and I'm just throwing these shots. All right. That position is actually one of the safest positions in throwing. There are other times when you got people that are going to fall straight back. So what you do is you get them to, you pull them a little bit into you, get them balanced forward, and then you start transitioning. Bang, bang, as they go straight. I'm right out of frame. I apologize. Here I am. I push them, and then I pull them a little bit because I don't want them to fall away like they always do. I pull them, they start shifting their balance back, and then I make my commitment. So this is you can see that there's some thinking in there, but in this exercise, the big piece is that we know how to throw while moving. So again, we're gonna just do these back ones. Bang, bang, nice and high, nice and stacked. This is one of the worst habits out of falling backwards. When you don't sit and like this, keep your back straight, this is what I see. Here's the problem. Look where my shield blocks. Shield blocks up here, shield blocks here. Look where my throws are. All right? So this is why we don't want to bend while going backwards. With a nice straight back. Bang, bang, bang. You notice I don't need to stop. I am falling, because if I stop, he is on me or she is on me. You can't stop. You need to throw those. At some point, you're going to be bang, bang, step out. Allow that hip to fall out. We practiced this exercise a long time ago. We'll practice it again because we need to review it again. But, you know, when I turn, all I'm doing here is I'm taking this hip and dropping it into a 45. And that changes that line of attack or that line of movement. But for now, falling backward, step, bang. There we go. Nice and slow. Then back forward. And then back. You should be able to throw these really high. And then pick up your speed if you have to. All right. All right, I'm going to watch a little bit so everybody gives me a chance to see what you're doing. That's the way, Margarita. So one piece, Margarita, is the one that what I see is you're turning your hand out. And I'm going to show everybody what I'm seeing. This is not just her, it's the multiple people. They throw the shot, and then they roll this hand back, which pulls this hip back. This is your hand back here and your flat here. My blade is pointing away from my opponent. At this point, all I can throw is a whipping shot. So you don't need to bring it back so far. If I'm normally here, I throw this shot. I want to just come right back to here. I don't want to come here and then bring it back forward. So wherever you normally are, make sure you're ending in that position. Bang, look at that. Right back to my shoulder. Bang, right back to my shoulder. So be careful about pointing your blade away from your shoulder. There are shots you can throw like that, which are perfectly fine, but you will lose your jab shot if you turn your blade away from your opponent. That's better, Margaret. Much better. Magrat, that looks great. Oh, Germanicus is practicing his crab walks. That's it, Germanicus. Make sure you're pushing him straight out at your opponent. Straighten that back a little bit. There we go. Magrat, I'm gonna show you a bit here. There we go. And back. Yes, perfect. Hey, you got your timing beautiful there, Magrat. I love it. All right, Eric, I'm going to show you, so you better do it right. You got everybody on YouTube or on Facebook watching you. All 20, 30 million of us. That's the way. Good. Okay, you guys, just that end step was the one you missed that foot. That's fine as long as you know it. So, but that looked good, buddy. Nice job. I'm going to switch over to Abelard. Let's see. That's it. Nice. That's the way, Abelard. Perfect. I like that. Very nice. So now one piece, Abelard, I want you to do something for me on the forward ones. I want you to think about pushing your tip forward before you turn your hand. All right. So just do it really slow. So push that tip forward. Ready? And no, hold. So you're pulling your elbow too far back. When I say push the tip forward, you're going to strike with the top 2 inches of your sword. Now, I want your hand out. See how far your hand is almost behind you. Now bring it back and stop. You see how far back your hand is? I want you to bring that forward. Not that one. There we go. Keep it. Yeah. Bang. Now throw a regular snap. There we go. Good. Now don't bring it so far back. Stop. There. Stop. Yep. You notice now you're closer to your opponent. Also, your feet are very turned. So watch, you're turning across. You see how your foot is across your opponent? I want you, yeah, that's not what we want. I want your feet more like straight at me. Point your hips flat at me for a second. There we go, right there. And there you go, now the other way. There, right there. You see how your feet, now you can push forward a little bit more? All right, so I want you to watch those feet if you can, all right? Because what's happening is you're getting so sideways, like you're so sideways here, your whole shoulder is behind you. Yeah, sometimes it's all literally, yes, that's a good way to practice this sometimes. And then throw straight forward. Bang, yes. Good, much better. All right, I'm on you, Charles and Grimmer. Nice step back, Charles. Good. Good. Now, Grimmer, grab that pad. You can walk him back. There we go. All right. So you're going to walk him back, and he's going to hit your pad as he goes back. There you go. Good. Keep walking. Don't let him stop. See, you're stopping in between. Just keep walking. There. That's better. Good. That's a prime. Now forward. Keep walking. Don't stop. Make him walk. See how he's stopping? Too big of a feet. Smaller feet. There we go. Towards the end, you're getting the constant flow. And that's the important part. I want both of you guys to do that. All right? You're still on mute.
I talked to him and that messed him up and made him stop.
All right. So no stopping. He's taking too big of a footstep. So to make sure those feet are smaller. Because when you take a big step, you end up grounding yourself on your back foot. So his steps need to be about 3/4 less, even half less. And he'll feel better. His balance will be better. Look how small your feet are, Grimmer. They're tiny. See how big his were? So nice small steps. All right, Elfwin, I'm popping it over you. Nice, that's the way. Good. Good. Now, what I would like you to do, Elfwin, is go ahead and no pal, just walk at the camera. Start all the way back by your belt. There we go. Nice and smooth. That's it. Nice small feet. There you go. Good. Exactly. See how we don't want any hesitation between low and now backwards. Yeah, that's the way. Good. Careful on your basket turning out at the end of those blows. All right. We want to keep that towards the face of your opponent. A little higher up in your shoulder. There you go. Good. Yes. Now you're up and hitting people in the head. Good. Nice. And you notice she's doing those really nice and slow so she can make sure that she's like flowing through them. And sometimes this is what it takes to make sure that you can actually do these right. All right. Bess, you mind if I show you a thumbs up, or sort up if you don't mind? All right. See it. All right, you're on board. I want to see how that's looking. All right, so let's do that again. Be careful now for short distance. You're stepping back with your sword foot while you strike. So for short distances, that's fine.
I'm 2.5 steps to my pal.
Yeah, that's the hard part.
Yeah.
So, but you can practice them both ways. So even if you only get essentially 1 foot back, and then it's like a long throw on your front foot. There you go, and then step back, and then long throw. There you go. Good. That's the way. So the last piece I'm going to say, Bess, is that I want your basket literally 1 basket from your shield. You're tending outside your shoulder. So when your hand is outside your shoulder, you use much more energy to throw a shot. If your hand's right there, you use a lot less energy. All right. So just be aware, everyone be aware of that. There, you see how much more power you have straight? Good. Very nice. All right. So this one's gonna be, some of you are not gonna be able to do this, but I'm gonna execute this just so, and you guys can just all watch, or you folks can all just watch. I'm gonna work it. I just want to show you the other exercises that we will do here. And actually, the last one you'll all be able to do, but it's also the hardest one. So the next one, let me change my view. Sorry. Oh, somebody looks like they changed my view for already. Great. So the next one is instead of straight forward, we're going to go on a 45-degree angle. Now, I am not turning and going straight forward on a 45. I am stepping on a 45. All right, and then as I step back, I step on a 45. So if you want to do this down the Pell, think of your Pell on a 45-degree angle somehow. I can't even imagine it. Unfortunately, I can't. But the idea is now we're learning to walk and throw in angle. So here's the first one, and then I do this one. Same thing. All right? Thanks, Bob. Now, what we're doing now is a cross. So we did the long way. Now we're doing a crossway. The idea here is the best way to break away from an opponent after throwing a shot is on an angle. Right? If I drop straight back, I'm open for a double jab. In our case, a double sword shot. So we know breaking into those 45s is the best way to execute a break from your opponent. They know that too. If you see somebody executing a 45 away from you after throwing a shot, first thing you know is that person has great feet, because most likely they know what they're doing. But guess what? If you know and they're falling away from you this way, and then you just track and do this execution, they're going to be surprised because now you're keeping that connection and you're just following them in the same direction. Doesn't have to be a 45. It could be a 90, like under a 9 between a 45 and a 90, or it could be a 30 degree. But the idea is you're able to move and throw while that person's moving. There is nothing, I tell you, the first time I did it, the most satisfying thing is as that person breaks away, you're following him perfect and you hit him with a shot. They look at you like, nobody else follows me. The secondary benefit of that is even if you don't throw a shot, but you follow them, you never release them. So they're essentially thinking they're escaping, but you're keeping tension on them. They never get a chance to breathe. So you're sucking the air out of them. You're comfortable because you're controlling range, because they're just going backwards. And actually now you're controlling the range. So you could be comfortable in breathing while they're not sure, because you could pick up tempo and change that range. So they have to, there's some more tension in their body. But this is why we practice moving at that 45. We can just practice moving. Remember, you can see my legs are always bent and we're heads on a line, right? And we're practicing that. And then we're practicing it the other way. And then we add sword shots, same feet forward type of sword shots. Not terribly difficult, but if we don't practice something, how good are we going to be at it? There's the thing that is making us better than others, is that we are practicing these things. So even if it's just moving at 45, let me see how people are doing. We're going to make this one relatively fast. There we go. That's nice, output. That's the way. Perfect. Nice and slow and deliberate. I'm highlighting Charles and Grimmer. Nice, Grimmer. That's exactly it. Good. Charles, that's the way. That's great stuff right there. Abelard, you're looking good there. See how you can actually travel on 45s and keep, and Bess, you're doing a wonderful job right there. That those 45s are real nice. Yes, nice change up on that 45. Just walking those 45s becomes so important. And I'll show you right at the beginning here, one of the simplest ways to do that. But everybody's doing a really nice job of walking these 45s. Margarita, those are really nice 45s. Magrat, that's the way to go. Eric, great job again. Yes, hand up a little higher. Nice. Paul, I love where your hand position is. Those head shots, man, you have to get a lot of good head kills. I don't know how tall you are, but you look pretty tall. All right. So those are the 45s. This is when everybody gets back to practice, these are things that you can all do with somebody with a pair of hand pads. Those hand pads, the really nice ones I have are like anywhere from 10 to 20 bucks at most for a pair. So so just be aware, they're a great tool to actually create a practice. You notice we are exercising here and practicing like this is a dojo and not just pickup fighting. Pickup fighting is important too. So remember, we're going through all these things. You may have to break those up. I'm going to do pad drills one day. I'm going to do, you can do footwork, even if it's half the footwork every day to warm up. But, you know, give yourself some exercise, some drills, and then some pickup practice. So that way you can actually apply stuff. The last one, this is the hardest one. And this one you can do on your ladder. Let me switch screens again. Somebody switched it for me last time. I'm not sure who it was. There it is. All right, thank you. Replace. All right, so the last one I find is the hardest one, and we can do this down the ladder. And that is essentially the crossover drill. I tend to cross over with my heel foot to the back. That way it keeps my sword foot forward when I'm throwing. So if a person starts skirting a line. So again, I'm going to do this slow. My first step out here is the blow. This comes across, blow. Comes across, blow. Then we try the other way. Here we are, blow, cross, blow, across, blow. Now in that way, what's happening is you can throw it here, but your body is twisted really hard. So I tend to take this step, throw, and then cross, throw, right when I'm back into my stance. So as get a little better shot. As this is here, I don't want to, my body, I can't do much. As soon as this falls, I'm going to throw because my body's in good, strong stance. You may find that you execute better a different way. That is perfectly fine. All right. So if you like it, maybe when your body's twisted, but it feels so much better, then execute it that way. Analyze it. Take a look at it. It's like, why do I feel that that's better? if it's because you feel like you got better hip rotation. My hip rotation may be different than your hip rotation. We just talked about that a second ago with the women fighters. So that's a big piece of making sure that these drills work for you. That's that part where I want all of you to think about stuff and share it with the others, just like I share with the others. That's what makes this practice great, is that we all share together, we come up with ideas, and then we get to work on stuff. So now we got this drill, all these drills where we can go 45s, we can go back and forth, we can do side to side. All right. The last piece, and this is kind of the idea, His Grace Eliyahu and I were just talking today about this, the idea of layering building exercises. So if you looked at what I did in the early part, we did reaction drills, and that's just getting used to the pads and the throws. The next thing we did is just simple forward and back drills. And then we added sword throws to those forward and back drills. And then we did corner to corner and added sword drills into there. And then we did side to side. And remember, in the side to side drills, you're leading with your hip again. Okay? All of these are leading with your hip. You're falling into them. And then we add sword to that. The last one, when you have somebody, is to build connection. Build connection with that person, but we can even do this alone. And that is, I want you just to flow and change up and feel when you should throw that sword. And just, and then see where those feet are. You notice most, almost probably 80%, there was a couple that weren't, but most of those, that front foot was forward while I threw that sword. But you notice, I can just do it in free form. See how we're just free forming it now? I change up. Look, I'm thinking, right? I'm thinking in my head, but this, I'm not thinking so hard. I'm like, oh, I could do this now. I could do this now. Just going, it's okay. It's okay. If I don't know what to do, just let it go. And then I can, like, I want to go straight forward. I want to go straight back. I'm going to break into the 45. I'm going to circle. I'm going to circle. I'm going to circle the other way. All right. You notice I'm not straining over the thought of changing things up. And this is that part of thinking that I want all of you to understand. This is happening when we are executing things. We are thinking about what we are doing. This is hard because when I lay in a drill, you know exactly what to do. I'm telling you what to think. So you don't actually have to think about it. But all of you have been here long enough that you should be able to start allowing to think about these things yourself and owning these drills and practice for yourself. Doesn't mean that we won't still do all the standard stuff here and there, but inside that, when you have time, own it. Say, I'm going to try this. And I already see people doing it. So that's a big part of what we're talking about here. How's everybody feel about what I'm talking about in the thinking piece? Yeah, good. I like a lot of thumbs up. So, you know, this is what is going to happen is the more you can think, make thinking simpler and easier in a fight, the less crowded your head gets. And the more space you have to essentially build a fight and understand what's happening in a fight, because you're not freezing on thought. Being a good fighter, what I try to do is make people freeze on thought. I push one way and then I push the other way and I push the other way and they're like, I don't know what to do. Now they're freezing on thought because they don't know what to do. In fact, all they're thinking about is themselves. They're not thinking about how to attack you. That's where you want to get people. You see how there's a fight going on that's not even in your body? Right? That's a big part of what we're doing here. Next week, remind me to cover the box or the cube. There's a gentleman, I believe from Palantir originally, that came out and taught it. And I used to teach the box, but it is a cube. And we're going to talk how a cube works and how we use it to essentially put tension into people and read people, or how to probe. So next week I want to talk about that. I know I promised you guys a left-hander, but I think everybody's out there playing. So we're going to do the left-handed piece next week. The part I want to talk about, and everybody can go ahead and sit down, grab some water, and turn their mics on. I'm going to grab my water, and we're going to have a real quick talk about mental philosophy.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm pooped.
Oh, that's good to hear. I know I'm sweating like pretty hard.
Son of a gun.
Charles says he wants 5 more rounds of 7 minutes.
So do us a favor and take some of those, except add swords to them, Grimmer. And as soon as he gets tired, or you can hit him, just hit him as hard as you can in the leg, and those 7 minutes get a lot harder.
I'll be dead after 1 minute.
That's why you have to hit him really hard in that leg, and so that he can't do it.
He's got Doug's creases. He's good.
All right, then look for the shoulder blades.
Oh man.
All right.
Arm, get me there.
All right, that's good.
Sorry?
Oh, it wasn't you. Who was talking?
Me.
Okay, go ahead.
I just said thank you. I felt really good.
Oh, good. I'm happy to hear that. I think everybody did a nice job today. I think, the good part is I'm hoping like Germanicus and Abelard and a few other people, even with just Sword and Shield, that understanding of where your sword belongs becomes a really important place. If your sword is turned out from your opponent, I'm going to change my view just so you guys can see my face. Not that you really want to, but there we go. There we go. So when you have your hand turned out, you literally have to turn your hand forward to throw a blow. So there's a beat there that you don't want. Remember, if you're here, it almost has to rotate out, and then this is a beat. It literally rotates around, easier to see. So be careful on turning your hands out too much, everyone. Just a quick point. The other piece is just, again, dropping into that stance, keeping it a little bit higher up in the shoulder, really starts making these a lot easier. If I keep it shield height, then that's where I'm throwing, into the shield. So just be careful of that. So mental philosophy, it's interesting because Beth's kind of put me and Wrongvalder on the spot, and I think we're probably gonna talk. Me and Wrongvalder probably talk a little bit more about it coming up. There are a lot of different mental philosophies out there of how to fight, and none of them are perfect. None of them are necessarily bad unless you're actually trying to hurt somebody. In our sport specifically, because we don't want to hurt people. But the key is, it's what kind of fighter you want to be. And sometimes, you have to find that place. You may be a person that's more natural in flow. And like Wrongvalder is probably, everyone's like, well, Wrongvalder is just the lefty version, the reverse version of me, right? And we do fight a lot alike, but we fight totally different as well. I have a lot more speed than Wrongvalder does, even though people are like, Wrongvalder's so fast, and then we both laugh. And because he's not fast at all. I use my quickness to break people down. He uses his timing and tension to put people exactly in the right place as his sword is already traveling to that place. They're literally meeting the sword halfway, and that's why he looks fast. So, all his movement, all of his leaning styles and basic blocks, those are all fundamentals, right? Those are the fundamentals we teach to our people here, and that's fine. But his fighting in general is different. The other piece, though, that we find is, like we did today, we talked a lot about thinking today. And I will tell you that it is very difficult for high-level fighters, even high-level fighters, very difficult for lower-level fighters. Super low, it's super easy for them because they don't know how to do it. So they have to think about every piece of what they're doing. And then everyone tells them you want to get to a point where you don't have to think anymore. That Bruce Lee's, essentially no mind. So no mind is there's you got to be careful of what that means. No mind to me means on execution of technique, you shouldn't have to think about what's my angle of my hand, how do my fingers in my basket have to roll. That is no mind because you've done it 10,000 times. That should just, I throw it, I don't think, I'm blank. In fact, I'm thinking about what's happening next. I'm thinking about what my opponent did to block that and what he left open or she left open. Because I'm not thinking about I get to think about something else. Now, a lot of people don't understand that really they may be doing that, but subconsciously. So they're like, I threw they're like, bang. And I'm like, oh, hey, they see something over here. Subconsciously, this is the weakness point. So next time they go bang, bang. And it's like, there was thought in there, but they didn't actually actively have to induce that thought, which is, there's two places on that. One is it's reactive, which is very good because they saw something, they can make it happen again, almost reactive without thought. Less thought, the faster something could happen. The bad part is that person could be literally doing it on purpose, and without thought, you're going to do it again. So being a reactionary fighter, I'm going to use your reaction to give me something. You're going to tell me how to hit you. That's literally, we go, for Rumgler and I, we go into a fight and we'll pop here and we'll pop here, but we're not really, we're probing to see what our opponent's going to do. Is he super fast? Does he fall back all the time? Does he ground into the ground? How his feet work? Is his feet faster than us? Does he break 45s? If I hit his shield, I hit the big on button, which is the shield a lot of times. Bang, does he run straight at me? Okay, we're on. No, you're not really. So now next time I fight him, I'm like, bang, and I start falling back as he's coming in, and then I center slot him as he takes a step forward, right? Because he told me, as soon as you hit something, I'm going to start coming at you. So I have the control. But you see, I'm taking active thought in every one of those pieces. I'm not focusing so hard that I give everything away. I'm not focusing so hard that I freeze. It's just like what we're doing in our exercises here, where we're taking something and making it so comfortable that I can think about, oh, I'm gonna do a jab step in and break to the left, right? And it's like, it's that comfortable. I'm gonna pick up my pace a little bit and see what happens, and then I'm gonna break my pace down. It's that comfortable. And we can do that in motion, right? So the piece here is, the more you can understand what you do, the more you can modify it to fit your opponent. This is where the problem with being a reactive fighter comes. You may not be able to modify something as easily. Even worse, when your technique starts breaking down, because you don't know what your technique is, how can you fix it? And this is the reason why I want you to make sure that thinking and doing and breathing and all of these pieces are just part of what you do as a good fighter. And if we separate all of those out, and it's like, it's, I'm gonna think now, or I'm gonna fight now, or I'm gonna do this now, then you're not able to create all of those abilities in your fight. And that's why we go things like, okay, and I talked about breathing, and then just doing your exercises and breathing through all your exercises, and breathing as you throw, and doing those pieces, and then we go into the next level of throwing while walking, and then we go in all of these pieces I'm trying to add. And today we talked a lot about thinking, but we did that 2 weeks ago when we were doing forms. I'm like, what works for you? And I wanted you to think about doing that form. And then you're like, okay, I'm going to do these 2 steps and then this. And then you executed it. Because you were able to think about what you wanted to do, and then you executed it. And the ability to do that is it really the key in owning the fight. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So
Right.
a lot of my conversation that I had with Ron Valder was like, I've been fighting for a super long time. We'll just go over 30 years. I was very young.
Yes, you're
so-
12.
So I've been thinking about what we're doing, and I'm thinking, and I know that we're far apart. So these are tools in our toolbox. Hi, Ron Valder. So these are tools in our toolbox. But how
Yes.
do I incorporate the tools that you're teaching me to incorporate it into whatever my own style was? And so I'm not kidding when I said I had to kind of figure out first what my own style was, because pick a fight, but like, what is my kind of like my overarching philosophy? For example, if we think of judo, judo means the art of gentleness. You use your opponents. If they come at you, you encourage them to keep going. You know, you don't try to stop them. I only know judo because I took judo when I was 12. I'm sure other martial arts, maybe they are, somebody hits you and you know, it impacts you and you use that to come fast at them. I don't know, I made that part up. So when I was trying to think about, well, okay, what am I like? And then how do I incorporate the tools? What is your high level philosophy? Because you said a lot of stuff. It was Ron Valder who gave me the highest level of what the philosophy is. Because we all think we control the fight. We all think, I want to control the fight. We all
Correct.
think I want to make the guy do the thing that I want the guy to do. So I think I do that. You're doing that. But one of the things I think, if I understand correctly, your philosophy is movement to keep the other guy in your kill zone and you not be in his kill zone. Like there's a lot of, like, he's coming towards you, I'm going to move out of that, like with a cross step, or I'm going to come in and I'm going to make him uncomfortable in his head. Does that sound?
So yeah, so here's my piece is, you know, you talk about my movement, but really that movement's only been around, specifically some of this movement's been around for a year and a half, 2 years. My bursting movement's been around for maybe 6, 7, or probably 7, 8 years, right? If you go back 20 years ago, me and Ron Valder were standing straight in front of each other with small twitching and executing kills. So when you're talking philosophy, that philosophy changes all the time based on trying to push our art to a different level. So if you really want to go in that philosophy, to me, it's what do I have to be? What do I have to do to become a better fighter? What is my constant search to be better myself? I'm not worried about my opponent too much yet, but how can I be a better fighter? And then the next step becomes, how do I execute and make that work on my opponent? So for a long time, it was pressure, right? For a long time, we were really static in front of each other and just really quick timing stuff. And then the next level, you know.
So wait, why, if it was working for you, why did you change it? You're like, I'm getting all these kills, I'm not exerting a lot of energy.
I became a dupe. Right, yeah.
Okay, so clearly it was working for you. So why did you take something that was working for you and go, I'm going to switch this up now? Because it was working for you.
Yeah, in some ways it got switched. The tools, but the way I see it is the tools changed. But the philosophy, like we talked about, for me, the philosophy still runs the same. So when we were doing the twitch thing, what we're looking for is how do we use our techniques to make the other person unable to throw or in a poor position while I put myself in a good position and execute my shot. And we did that with little movements. So that was the strength of the movement like that. The weakness is we were always in each other's range. So while we could push people around, we didn't really know when they were going to throw, right? So now you start adding movement, you start moving offline, you get to be the one who decides when your opponent throws. Okay. And another way that I used to describe it was, I'll re-describe the first one, which is the one Sir Besson I talked about. I tried to distill this down to the simplest things. And one of those is, imagine a V, okay? So you are the one the V is this way, but you can't see it. So this is a top view. You're at the apex of the V. The width of the V is the distance, or is where you could throw a good shot. Yeah, I can throw a shot this way, but it's weak. So all my strong shots happen between this V. It's actually between your feet. The lines off your feet create that V. The outside of that V has an arc like a pie. That's my favorite way to describe it because everybody likes pie, right? So there's an arc here that has to do with the distance that you can throw. Okay. Your opponent has the same thing. Whatever his V is, whatever his pie is, he has one too. So the simplest way I describe it is, this is me and this is my opponent. I want him in my pie, but I want to be outside of his. Okay. That's the simplest way to describe it. If the reality is there's a whole bunch of layers here, right? This is the simplest way. This works vertically too, right? So if I can get him to threat high, I can threat low and I can be inside his pie but under it. Okay. If a person's ready to throw at me and I find there's a thing that makes him not throw or makes him throw, then he's committed and I can step into his pie free of danger because his weapon's been committed either to a shot or a defense or something poor. Then I can still work. But the basic is still the same thing. I'm trying to get him in my pie, him not be in his. Okay. So if we talk about what we used to do, what we were trying to do is we stayed in each other's pie, but we made each other shut down our pie or only be able to point it in the wrong directions or begin to actually break it down. Now what we're trying to do is do all of that while also moving around a person, which wrecks an opponent even more. So does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. So the reality, I mean, maybe I can throw 30 years of fighting out the window and try something brand new. You have to be receptive to all ideas, but I don't think it's actually going to happen. So this all came out because I'm learning all these tools. They're tools for a toolbox. Can I incorporate these better for me? Because it's all about me and my universe.
You're absolutely right.
So I'm a very defensive fighter. And people tend to get frustrated after a while because I'm blocking their shots and they get mad. Well, they get mad, they get frustrated. They start to do stupid things. And when they start doing stupid, they're like, well, regular stuff is going to work. So I'm going to try like a shot like this. And I'm like, thank you. Now I will go for your heads or your arms. But as Ron Valter pointed out to me, Bess, that depends on you being a faster blocker than they are thrower. So, okay. So what if I could still be a super defensive fighter, just like I am, frustrate them, get them to the point where they're trying the dumb shit because they just don't know what else to do. But I do it with movements.
That's correct. Or intention.
Or yes, an intention. That's like, I incorporate the stuff, the intention, the movement, the things we're learning now. I'm not gonna be a big old tough guy that can throw 80 billion shots. If anything, I'm a bit of a sniper. I throw combos, but really I make sure I got my targeting. I make sure I can hit in the small holes. That's what I do. And I encourage them to make big holes.
So congratulations, you're doing what me and Ron Valder have done over 30 years. Right?
Well, apparently it takes 30 years because that's where.
but I mean, really, when I bring this up is, a lot of times I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start executing huge movement. And I'm like, okay, why did this, really that came out of, why does this work against Havard, who was a giant man that standing in one spot, he'd get some kills on me. So I'm like, I hit him when I made giant movement. So then I'm like, I wonder if this works. And I fought Rongvalder, which wasn't the greatest thing and the greatest, mental exercise for me. And I found that it worked with Rongvalder. He's like, okay, what are you doing with these giant move things? And there was something in there. So I developed it. And I found that movement now allows me not to just worry about a static block, but I could just fall out of stuff and flow with stuff. And then it took some manipulation through there. There was some failure, some good stuff. And then the next thing we added was tension control. So I could burn somebody out and I could suck blows in like you want to do best. And I could get them to the point where they had to throw because they couldn't breathe anymore.
Yeah.
Right?
So for everybody, then we can using Sir Bess as an example. She's a defensive fighter. I am not a defensive fighter. I have a very different philosophy in that way. Yet all these tools still work for her because now, instead of passively being defensive until the time comes when her opponent finally begins to break down, she can constantly be moving, shifting, and putting pressure in different places, making her opponent break down very quickly. And in fact, often the shots that they normally throw well first will be poor because she will always be just a little off center and they'll throw crap right out of the gate. So she can get, instead of passively waiting, she actively provides them an opportunity to fail. So she doesn't have to wait anymore. And the beauty of that is now, not more shots are being thrown. So the sheer odds of her getting tagged accidentally go down.
There's the key.
Right? That's actually, that's pretty much it.
I mean, that's what I do with Rongvalder. I try to, that V of the feet. I try to get just over his outside toe, 1 inch.
Yeah.
And it changes every shot he has.
Yeah. If he goes too far,
then he fixes himself.
Yeah.
So philosophy, here's the biggest thing I'm going to tell you, Bess, on philosophy. Keep learning.
God knows I'm happy to do that.
I know, but
she's looking for the practical application.
So the practical application will be something that you're going to have to work on. There may be stuff you throw away. And I'll talk to you about it. If you really want to talk about that, ask Palomar. He came to me at one point. Him and Eli both came at one point and said, "It's time to learn again." And
P. Palomar or T. Palomar?
P. Palomar.
My Palomar. Okay.
Yeah, I want you to have a discussion about him and me training him.
I'd love to do that. Okay.
All right. He came to me and were literally like, "Hey, I got to relearn." And I'm going to tell you, I use both of those guys as examples of people that maybe their style stopped working so well, and they were like, "I'm willing to change."
That's where I am. My style has taken me to a point. It's a good point. I'm happy, hey, it's worked. I want it to be better. It's not.
And when I said that, and it's hard because this is so overlapping, and it's like it's easy to say, get better, but these are the things you're doing to get better. You're building. You ask why we keep changing, because we keep building better skills.
We figure out why it worked. We figure out why it works. We learn it, and then we try to find a way to make it fail, and then we have to figure out something new, and then just keep building. So,
and all through that, we take out weakness.
Can I ask you guys generally about identity change? Because one thing I've been told a lot in martial arts over the years is when you start becoming a martial artist of any form, you start having to look at yourself very hard. Now, I would have said at the beginning of the pandemic that I was basically somebody who's in their 50s and, hey, I can do a bit of fighting. Isn't that badass for a menopausal woman in their 50s? And I was to some extent goofing around and not believing in myself. And I've discovered I am not a berserker who goofs around and doesn't care to get beat up, because I've actually had people say, hey, look, a plus-size woman who goes out there and lets herself get beaten up. Isn't that cool? Well, hell no, it's not, because what I actually am is a plus-size 54-year-old woman who is an ambitious perfectionist. And I've had to admit that to myself. Yeah.
Awesome.
So how did you went through that kind of stages, right? How did you deal with that? Because it can be a bit of an eye-opener and a bit, me, when you realize that you're not what you thought you were, and you're going to have to embrace who you actually are in order to improve.
That was hard.
So actually, I think you're going through a couple stages.
Yeah, we still are. I don't think that, it's probably different for everyone, but it changes. So when I first started fighting, it was literally, there was a bunch of guys who were getting together in the parking lot and they were doing this cool medieval thing. And for the first few years, it was literally, I get together with my friends and we play medieval soldier. I mean, that's really all it was. And I found just really enjoying it, going to a lot of events. When I was squired, I was forced to think about, okay, I'm on this path now. And I figured I had probably another year or two at the rate I was going when people would start to pay attention to me. And then it'd be probably another couple of years I'd get knighted. And in about a year or two, I was knighted. So I did not realize what potential I had. Once I was knighted, there was a sense of worth that came from them. You know, you look up to this group of people, and they all essentially got together and said, "Yeah, you're as good as us." And I realized I was winning tournaments, and there was a period where I could win fairly easily. Then I began to try to get better, and at this point, I was already doing exceptional, but I wasn't winning every fight, so obviously I wasn't perfect. So I kept working on it. And then for me, it reached a point, and I did not realize this until I was in it. It reached a point where fighting wasn't fun anymore. Fighting was, I went to practice in events almost out of a sort of internal desperation.
Yeah.
I had a thing that I had achieved. I'd won literally dozens of tournaments. I'd been king twice at the largest kingdom in the known world. And I felt like it, on some level, made me important and worthwhile. So if I didn't stay good at this, I wasn't important anymore. So that became really difficult, because for a while, Bronis went through too a lot with a sense of expectation from outside and inside. What we're supposed to be. We achieve this, so we're supposed to always be this.
I wouldn't let myself have one in case it disappointed it. But I went back to in-person practice this week, and the big thing I noticed was, although there was a little bit of what we call death or glory, and I was trying to be more focused and more tight in, was I realised afterwards, I haven't thought, oh God, I really got beaten up there, and yeah, okay, but it was fun. I thought, I did this, and I could have done that, and I've got to work on this and this. And that whole dimension of, did I win at any point? How many shots did I get on people? It was not there. And I actually thought, did I have no adrenaline? I thought, no, actually I didn't have no adrenaline. I started to try and pull it back and do something focused and controlled with it when it happened, and that's never happened to me before. So that's like the major change that's happened over the pandemic.
Yeah, I'm excited for you. That's spectacular. What you start, there's a lesson I learned as a side note. Some people want to play this just for fun. They want to get out and they want to swing sticks, and that's fun. And I had to learn to leave those people alone, let them have fun. You have found the fun that I searched for, and that was realizing what you're capable of. Now that you've done things and started to achieve, and this is why Bronis and I encouraged everybody to go back and look at video of yourselves when you first started doing these drills. Look at how you move and compare it to how you move now. Look how much you have learned.
I don't mind admitting, I'm bloody terrified having found it, but yeah, let's see what's going to come out. I've been hanging on to the Sergeant at Arms belt that I got for the pandemic. I actually carried the thing around like a talisman half the time during the pandemic, and now I'm feeling like, okay, maybe I'm just actually going to wear this thing. So no, cool, that's cool. But yeah, no, it's bloody terrifying. But I'm like, suddenly, this is a whole different dimension. Like, way to go! Yeah, let's go on with it.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys. To me, when I hit that, it felt like opening a door. Somehow a door had opened. I realized, wow, here I am struggling to try to perfect a few little things I know. Then all of a sudden we realized there's a whole world out there of things.
Oh yeah.
That's
thanks to you guys.
That's the beauty of this. So that's what's been exciting for us, is to pull you guys along into that other world and say, look, there's all these other tools. You don't have to take them, but watch what it does to you when you do.
And really, I mean, when we say this, you guys are in on the ride with us. I mean, we're learning at the same time you are. Yeah. So, that's, I think, the coolest part.
It was just such a complete mind. I'm not going to say the word mind frap. To come back from the, okay, it wasn't mind frap. To come back from the practice, excuse my language, and just be sitting that night thinking, I feel totally differently. The high and the adrenaline drop after with female adrenaline exactly the same, but the mental aspect of how I felt and how I fought, totally different. Totally different. And that was the first time back in 15 months.
Yeah, you gained a sense of self-awareness and what your abilities are. Exciting.
Yeah. Totally.
So
cool. Thank you.
They're just wrapping up around here. I just want to follow Bess. I know that it's hard. This isn't really an answer, but I think the journey, there's not necessarily always an answer at the end, right? And I think you're taking that journey along with us right now. The difference that you see is it's easy to stay what you're like, but to push outside of that is really becoming somebody more than you can, that's opening your mind.
I know what I am now, and I know it has to be, I know it has to change. I'm willing to go with it's got to change, you know, kind of let the ego go and stop trying to sit on, you know, well, it worked in the past, but
Yeah.
I like
That
to
is
go-
over.
I like
And sometimes that's
A lot
hard.
of
and
habits to break.
Yep, that's a hard thing to do. But I'm going to tell you, you know, both Palomar and Eli, it doesn't mean you can't go back to some of the things you did. But sometimes you have to make that full commitment of, I'm going to make sure these things work for me, and then find those things that you can merge together at the very end. So sometimes you have to take that big chance. I mean, believe me, it's a lot easier for me and him to stay in our old stuff and maybe watch people pass us by than
I don't know if that's easier.
I did physically easier.
Yeah, physically
all right?
a whole lot easier.
Than to get into a place where it's not so.
You're still on Facebook?
Yeah, we'll so you know, that's the big piece on that. So I want everyone to think about that a little bit and post in the forum. I'd like to have another talk if you have questions like this, and then we'll pick it up a little more deep, even if we have to break a session out. All right.
Cool.
All right.
Thank you.
I want to thank everybody. I'm going to go ahead and drop off Facebook, and I'd like to thank everybody. My pleasure.
Thanks
Great
a lot,
practice.
guys. This
Bye.
been
Have
great.
a good one.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.